Honesty, passion, experience. It's Timberwolves Explosion, hosted on the sportstuff.com. And now, your host, Paladino Joey. Hello again, Timberwolves fans. Are you ready for the explosion of Timberwolves basketball? I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Timberwolves Explosion is available on the sportstuff.com, iTunes, Stitcher, and Double Twist. We're finally here. The annual State of the Timberwolves 2018 is in the building. Or should I say on your smart device? That might make more sense, but, well, whatever it is what it is, and we're here. And as for the Timberwolves season, it kind of was what it was. There was a lot of positive aspects to it. Of course, the Wolves' offense improved. Their defense marginally improved on occasion. And they won 47 games and made the first playoff berth in 14 years. So, all's good with the world, right? At least the Wolves' world and all that. All's right with the Wolves, eh? No, not really. The team divided was the last episode. This is almost like part 2 of that, in a sense. At least in terms of reviewing the season and all that. Some maintenance going on here in my brand new apartment. One of the reasons for the delay, in fact, well, there's multiple reasons. Of course, last time I recorded, I believe there was still a bit of snow on the ground, April 26th. The season was wrapping up. It was right before finally getting to start cleanups, about a month late. Spring cleanups, that's what we do in the spring, and then the fall, we do fall cleanups, me and my brother, for a second job. So that was delayed a month. And then right after we got done, near the end of May, it was time to move. And boy, was it a difficult move, but it got done. Brooklyn Park back to Golden Valley, Minnesota. So I'm in Golden Valley again. Different location, of course, but back in Golden Valley. So it feels good in that sense. Yeah, so that's some of the reasons for the long delay. Wouldn't have minded having an in-between type of a show. Just conversate about the playoffs a little bit. So that might be why segment 1.5, which I'll be doing for the second straight year, is back in business again. This time it's about 20 minutes long. I recorded that before anything else. I wanted to kind of get some stuff off my chest about the postseason. The reason for the existence of segment 1.5 is because a couple years ago, I talked on and on and on about the NBA Finals, LeBron James's beautiful victory over my most hated team, the Golden State Warriors. I celebrated that very much on that show, and Hank was basically saying, why can't you keep this a Timberwolves show, because it's State of the Timberwolves? And, well, that's the idea. Then I created segment 1.5. It was a shorty last year, because there wasn't a whole lot to say this year. There's a whole lot more to say, so it's a little longer. Okay, so we're basically here to review the season in segment number 1. Segment 1.5 is what it is. Postseason and little rants about that, rants and raves, but mostly, well, yeah, you'll hear it. I thought it was kind of fun to do anyway. Segment number 2, draft and free agency. I'm a little late coming here to the draft, so apologize that it's going to be like right before the draft and all that, but, well, you know, I'm going to get it before the draft at least. Free agency conversation, where do we go from here, this and that. Tom Thibodeau will be the coach and president of basketball operations, much to most of our chagrin. So that's frustrating in a huge way. Just kind of go with the flow here with that. And then we move forward into segment number 3, which has always been fan interaction. You'll be hearing from Vince Germano and others. Hopefully Marcus the Forecaster will get back to me on what he wants in the draft and all that. That would be great to squeeze that into segment number 2 if humanly possible. I'm nearing an opinion at this point, but yeah, it'll kind of come right as I'm recording it, basically, into segment number 2. So, the season in review, it was what it was. You saw this, you saw that, blah, blah, blah. You saw us beat up the Warriors in the preseason, which means nothing, and then them absolutely destroying us the next game. Yeah, that's great. You saw the Wolves lose to San Antonio without Kawhi Leonard to open up the season. We barely squeezed past Rubio. A couple of exciting wins over OKC, but the two games in Indiana, Detroit, the 2 Midwest games, that's when you first started seeing the problems. Once again, 130 points given up against Indiana, 122 against Detroit. Yes, they're on the road, but that's a lot. Have a nice close win against Miami to wrap up that, but still give up 122 points. And you'll see that as more of a trend than a mirage. One thing that was definitely a change in a trend, a change in pace, so to speak, for the Wolves is we actually swept the New Orleans Pelicans this year, which is quite a contrast from the last couple of years where the Pelicans would just own the Wolves and beat us by about 25 points, which is what the Warriors did a week after that. But as we head into November and all that, you had a nice solid win against Charlotte. But then you have games like losing in Phoenix and all that. You lose in Phoenix. The Wolves played generally well against the Dallas Mavericks. For some reason, Minnesota can no longer beat Detroit, but I guess that's what that is. Stan Van Gundy's on his way out, and Dwayne Casey on his way in. So congratulations to Dwayne Casey signing a 5-year contract in the offseason here. In fact, just very recently, right before I recorded the show pretty much, a couple days before, Dwayne Casey has a new job already. Of course, he was let go by the Raptors after the sweep. I talk about that briefly in segment number 2, 1.5, pardon me. November was fun. You felt good about the team. We were actually in third place in the conference. This is when things actually felt pretty good. You saw some solid defense. You see the Wolves keeping the Jazz to under 100, the Spurs to under 100, the Mavericks under 100. Detroit just barely got 100, and a crappy loss in Charlotte, 118 to 102. It's like we never win there. And we start giving up a ton of points again. 124 to Orlando, 109 to Miami, 108 to Phoenix, which was a win, but still, that's a lot. Low scoring, extremely frustrating loss to the Washington Washington Wizards, 92-89. That game just was frustrating and boring and yucky, and it was a home game, too. Then we go to New Orleans and win by 18. Okay, that's nice, and New Orleans obviously much better than they were last year, yet we beat them. Another fun, entertaining matchup with a team I thought we were going to play in the first round this year. If we held on to a 4th seed or 5th seed, it would have been fun, but it didn't happen. I kind of think the Wolves would have beaten OKC this year. Maybe. Especially if we had home court advantage. But, well, yeah, it just didn't quite go that way. I think Jimmy Butler getting hurt certainly didn't help, but obviously a lot of other behind-the-scenes stuff. Even if the Wolves won 55 games this year, which they could have, possibly, things not so pretty going on behind the scenes. And that's what we continue to talk about as we head into the details after the kind of combing over the season real quick as we head into the month of December. A very close loss in OKC, but a very entertaining game. You beat the Clippers twice. Another loss to Memphis. The Wolves just never beat Memphis. Another yucky game. You keep them under 100, but you can't beat them. That's bull crap. Low-scoring game with Dallas. That was a nice win. Philadelphia's another team that just owns the Wolves, and this was on December the 12th. An entertaining battle between Mr. Towns and Mr. Joel Embiid. This was the moment when Karl Anthony Towns was basically told to put up or shut up by the young Joel Embiid, who is a little brash, but you know what? He's not that bad. And, well, he said what he said, and it's kind of fun. It was a fun, entertaining battle. Karl Anthony Towns basically told Mr. Embiid that his pose was trash, basically, and all that. And then Joel Embiid quickly responded with, "So is your defense." And then, well, Karl Anthony Towns started playing some better defense after Joel Embiid schooled him and tore him apart, which was extremely frustrating. Now, Butler had 38 points in the game. Even Wiggins managed to score 20. Yeah, even Wiggins managed to score 20 points. He scored 20 points. Yeah, Wiggins, extremely frustrating throughout the course of the season, off and on. An 8 for 24 performance, 1 of 7 from downtown. That did not help the Wolves' cause at all at the end of the day. Karl Anthony Towns, though, again, a very entertaining matchup between the two clubs. And unfortunately, the Timberwolves unable to get the victory with Joel Embiid schooling the crap out of Karl Anthony Towns. It was a turning point for Karl. And again, you saw a much better defense during the course of time. You saw off and on, back and forth between him and Tom Thibodeau. And obviously, he'd be out of position at times. And the forecaster told me you could actually hear Karl getting called a bleeping idiot by Tom Thibodeau. He believes that's what he was hearing. Yeah, I believe other people could attest to that as well. Cursing at the players when they're out of position, this and that. And yes, it's just tough love. It kind of is what it is. But that's what was taking place during the course of the season, off and on between Tom Thibodeau and the players, which would create more and more friction. You just look at this game went to overtime and everything, but you look at the minutes of a lot of these players, and it just says it all. Andrew Wiggins, 40 minutes. Sure, again, it went to overtime, but that's excessive. 48 for Karl. 48 minutes for Karl Anthony Towns. 45 for Jimmy Butler. 37, 38 basically for Jeff Teague. Almost 40 for Taj. Gorgie Zhang, you can't give him more than 18. Tyus Jones, you can't give him more than 15 minutes. So it's just that's where the frustration comes in. It's unbelievable when you sit down and think about that at the end of the day. And that's where you get into the conversation, articles written out there, Windhorse and such, about frustration with Wiggins, this and that, Butler's frustration with Wiggins, kind of internal stuff going on. The veterans basically siding with Thibodeau, the young guys on the other side. It's like a little civil war in between the Wolves. That's why I called the last episode The Team Divided. And then you have the likes of Jeff Teague basically saying, please let Tyus Jones play more. And obviously, Jeff Teague basically pleading for a little break, too, because he's getting too many minutes, and that Tyus Jones deserves to play more. And, well, it didn't really seem to happen very much. And I don't know. I guess they kind of smooth things over after the end of the season and all that, Tyus and Tom Thibodeau, because, well, Jamal Crawford won't be back anyway, this and that, so there'll be more minutes available for Tyus Jones, even if the Wolves bring back Derrick Rose. That's a conversation we'll continue throughout this show. As now we'll get off that Philadelphia game anyway. Again, apologize for the noise. I had no idea these clowns were going to start some major project a floor below me. I just, this is the time I have to record, and this is their time to do that, I guess. Terrific. So, that's life in the city, as they say. Even though luckily this isn't a downtown metropolitan area necessarily. That's about 3 or 4 miles east of here in Minneapolis. I'm not in Minneapolis, I'm in Golden Valley. Nah, boo-boo. Just a suburb, right? Okay, back to December and all that. Close loss to Phoenix at home would drive you crazy. Wolves played better against Sacramento for the most part this season. The Portland and Denver games were fun. This is when you saw Jimmy Butler just go ape-leave. Now, of course, he had 38 points against Philadelphia. Portland and Denver, those are the two games where Butler just absolutely started to take over the team, as, of course, in the early days of the season, Butler was deferring more. And you saw more scoring from Wiggins, this and that, Karl, this and that. The numbers were generally down for everybody, but Butler noticeably was down. And then all of a sudden, it was like, when things weren't going so hot, Butler just kind of went into bleep it mode and then started going crazy and tearing people up, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Butler, 37 points against the Portland Trailblazers in a 1-point victory in Target Center, much to our delight at the moment. That was awesome. That was on December the 18th on a Monday. A couple days later against the Denver Nuggets. I believe this was the you can't bleep with me game. Nope, the Portland game was, because I know it was a home game for the Wolves where Butler yelled, "You can't bleep with me," to one of the players. Denver game, he basically was saying the same stuff to the likes of Will Barton and such. Kind of a back and forth. I'm confused exactly which game it was, and it doesn't really matter. Jamal Murray's a name you'll be hearing a little teeny bit in the draft conversation, because there's a player I'm kind of semi-comparing him to a little bit. You're seeing some nice talent from some of these players out there, guys that are good in traffic here and there. Jamal Murray, 30-point game. Remember a couple of years ago, I was in love with him. His first year in the league, he was adequate. That was, of course, the same draft for Chris Dunn and all that. And then this most recent season, you're starting to see for real what Mr. Jamal Murray is all about. 30-point game. Butler, at the end of the day. This one, he had 25 points. So, yes, the Butler You Can't Bleed With Me game for sure was Portland, and I do remember it being a home game. But still an overall great game. Karl and Jimmy both stepping up in a big way. Karl all the time steps up well against those Denver Nuggets, and he did it again. Wiggins, another performance. Oof does, they like to say here in Minnesota. Only attempted one free throw, made only 3 shots in the entire game. So, yeah, stuff like that. You'd kind of see this off and on during the course of the season. Wiggins loves his jump shot, and, well, it's not a good jump shot, and it's not well placed, and he's just doing little weird, almost like tornado fadeaways. I don't know. It's, it's not good, and he just kept doing it. I don't know, man. I don't know, Andrew. I don't know. I don't know. That Portland game, though, got the Wolves rolling after, again, losing to Phoenix. Extremely frustrating. Butler got angry and started really showing what he could do. Again, the 38-point game against Philadelphia, duly noted. But this is when things got fun, as the Wolves have been 5 in a row. Again, you beat the Phoenix Suns, you beat the Lakers, you beat the Denver Nuggets, and then you get pounded by Milwaukee a little bit. Not really pounded, but you lose to the Milwaukee Bucks on the 28th of December. The Wolves again do beat the Los Angeles Lakers on Christmas Day Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal kind of made fun of the Wolves most of the game because, I don't know, that's just how they roll, I guess. But we still won the game, and Karl Anthony Towns had his barbecue check-in, and guys had fun with that. But then again, the TNT crew made fun of the Wolves much more in the postseason rather than that Christmas Day game. The first Christmas Day victory for the Timberwolves, and only second Christmas Day game in team history, which is kind of sad considering the Garnett era. The Wolves were good, but they weren't, I don't know, but they just never seemingly were breaking through. Kind of sad that the 03-04 team didn't get on there, but the schedule was made before the season, so that kind of is what it is. Pretty sure the Wolves will be playing a three-peat in terms of Christmas Day games. Jeff Teague, of course, was injured recently at this point. Tyus Jones, Jeff Teague had a hyperextended knee that looked like it could have been way worse, a strained MCL. Much less than a torn MCL, or looked like, or much less again than a torn ACL, which is what it looked like, as the movement of that knee did not look good. Very fortunate for Jeff Teague. Tyus Jones would start, and it was, again, not sexy numbers, but he would get the job done. Again, he would steal the ball. He's really a good on-the-ball defender, this and that, and of course, very capable of setting others up and making nice plays. Andrew Wiggins had moved to shooting guard, and Butler to small forward. As you'd see kind of things switch around, and it was an entertaining brand of basketball in the time that Tyus Jones was the starting point guard. Aaron Brooks would get one of his few games in here, make the 2 shots he made, but the Wolves did end up losing to the Greek Freak and such. Eric Bledsoe also actually led that team in scoring, and a couple of days after Christmas. Entertaining game, but unfortunately the Wolves do lose. Thon Maker, you got to see him for one of the first times against the Wolves. Of course, he's kind of that up-and-comer guy who was extremely raw, taken in the draft a few years ago. 2 years ago, when I compared his game style to Garnett. Obviously not at the same level, but the same style of play, similar style. Wolves would beat Indiana to wrap up the year, blah, 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 as we like to continue to move on. January, things would go down and up and down and up. You had a 3-game losing streak to Brooklyn, Boston, and New Orleans. Actually, we beat New Orleans. I'm looking at this incorrectly. Then the Wolves would have another 5-game win streak against New Orleans. We'd actually pound Cleveland, and I predicted it because the Cleveland Cavaliers have been playing like crap, and the Wolves pound Cleveland, their first win over the second stinted LeBron James's Cleveland Cavaliers. Post Miami Heat, Cleveland, when LeBron was much harder to beat and all that. 127-99. You beat OKC. You beat the Knicks finally beat the damn Knicks. And a 120-103 dousing of the Portland Trailblazers. And remember, they went on to win the division this year, so an extremely impressive win, if it's at home or not. You never beat Orlando. You never beat Houston. And that was obviously a frustrating moment. This was not the game where Jimmy Butler would get hurt, but it would kind of catapult the Wolves into some losing basketball, despite a little 2-game win streak thrown in between there, and a little cute win over Brooklyn. The Wolves would lose 5 out of 8 coming up here. Some nasty losses against Houston, Portland, Golden State, Atlanta. That was a really awful loss, which was like no excuse. The Wolves should have won this game about 15 times. Jeff Teague played like dog dookie in the game completely. I don't know. He made 1 shot. He had 2 points. He did have 10 assists in the game, so give him credit there, right? But generally speaking, just some terrible basketball, terrible decision-making, and major frustrations kicking in there against the Atlanta Hawks. As the frustration would just mount over and over again. And then you get into February. At the end of the day, the Houston game, when the Wolves would lose 126-108 at home to the Houston Rockets. That's when Jimmy Butler got hurt. You had an entertaining game for a minute there. But at the end of the day, the Wolves just could not beat the Houston Rockets. It was frustrating. It was sad, but it kind of was what it was. Butler got hurt. He ended up tearing his meniscus, and that led to extreme frustration. The Wolves would win only 8 out of 17 games coming up after that. Very understandable, though, when you consider the circumstances. Los Angeles Lakers the Wolves end up sweeping the Lakers during the course of the season. That felt really good. The Wolves ended up losing to Cleveland 140-138. Extremely entertaining game on the 7th of February. The month of February was just kind of all over the place, which drove people absolutely crazy. Jimmy Butler, this is of course before the injury, had 35 points in the game, but the Wolves end up losing 37 for LeBron, so I guess that was kind of the difference in the game at the end of the day, as sad as that might sound. Let's attempt to move on, if humanly possible, with all the damn noise going on. Yeah, the Chicago game. Jimmy Butler got to go back to Chicago, and we got to see Zach LaVine again on the 9th of February. This is one of the major games of the season. Of course, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, But this was obviously one of the big kind of turning points, so to speak, or big stories of the season. Oh, Zach LaVine's back, and he was having a solid game, but things didn't really kick in until later on as he started making everything. At the end of the day, he was only 1 of 6 from downtown, but the 1 3 he made ended up really changing things and putting the Wolves behind. Then you saw the Wolves design a play that, I don't know. I mean, Tom Thibodeau and Jimmy Butler kind of worked together on a play that I don't know what the point of it was. It was basically Jimmy Butler jacking up a shot with 2 men on him. I don't know. It was a terrible play, and the Wolves ended up losing by 1 point, and Zach LaVine's celebrating and enjoying it, and Zach LaVine was able to beat the Wolves in Chicago. Huge game for him, 35 points, as he had just returned within a couple of days there. Huge night for Zach LaVine. Chris Dunn would have to wait until his first game against the Wolves. Darian Grant would start in his stead. He wound up with 11 assists in the game. It was an extremely entertaining game and all that, but extremely frustrating as a Timberwolves fan. Happy for Zach LaVine and all that, but I'm sorry he's not on our team anymore. So for all of those out there that were cheering him on and all that, he's not on our team anymore. So whatever. Nothing we can do there. Maybe one day we can get him back, as things happen like that sometimes. Maybe Tom Thibodeau is no longer the coach 2 years from now, and Zach LaVine comes back, but I don't know. I'm guessing he's going to sign a long contract extension with Chicago, but trades still happen too in this day and age. Maybe Andrew Wiggins plays for the Bulls instead, and there was conversation that could have been the case until Glenn Taylor jumped in and changed the strategy there for Tom Thibodeau. Basically demanded that Andrew Wiggins isn't going anywhere, and that Mr. Thibodeau went the Zach LaVine route in acquiring Jimmy Butler from the Chicago Bulls, this and that. Zach LaVine definitely had a nice little revenge game against the Wolves, despite shooting poorly from downtown. The 3 he hit was extremely clutch, and it ended up leading the Chicago Bulls to victory. Again, a 35-point performance. The Wolves lose by 1 in Chicago. A 33-point fourth quarter for the Bulls. Only 19. Actually, that was the third quarter. That's when things started to really change, and when Zach LaVine picked up the pace. The Wolves hung on, though, and at the end of the day, though, the Bulls were the victors. And Zach LaVine had the last laugh, so that's kind of how things went. Zach LaVine really picking things up. He wasn't so hot until later in the game. The Wolves end up pounding Chicago after losing Jimmy Butler to a torn meniscus on the 23rd of February against the Houston Rockets, an 18-point loss in Houston. An unfortunate moment there where you saw Jimmy Butler's knee kind of move forward. So you figured kind of the front of the knee looked like it was damaged somehow, not like the center. It was the front of the knee. That's why I had a feeling it was the meniscus, and that's what it was, the meniscus, which kind of usually the front of the knee. But then again, what do I know? I'm not a doctor. Half the time I talk as if I am, but what the hell? I have some knowledge, but then again, I'm sure a doctor would kind of talk me down and say, no, it's actually here and this and that, but I have a clue. I look into some stuff. Lauri Markkanen came back to play against the Wolves. He had a solid game earlier, about 15 points, only 3 points in this one, though, in the Target Center, where the Wolves throttled Chicago with a 36-point fourth quarter. After a fairly close game, the Bulls had a huge second quarter, but the Wolves ended up winning by 18 points. That was a nice night for the Wolves in the season review and all that. Jeff Teague ended up leading the way, but that was good. Zach LaVine, not quite the same performance, but certainly not all that bad. As we'll finally move on from February, things would get very nasty. You lose 3 in a row to Portland, Utah, and the Boston Celtics. The Wolves just cannot beat Boston right now. Long break also in there, a 5-day break, this and that, which led to the Celtics game after losing to Portland and Utah. End up losing. The Wolves end up beating Golden State on the 11th of March. That was a Sunday, and I loved that game so much. And it wasn't just because we beat the Warriors. It was just a nice game for the Timberwolves. It's not just how much I hate the Warriors. I kind of hate the Warriors. Yeah, I think you guys know that to a point of I'm almost like childish about it, but okay. But an amazing night for the Wolves. Karl-Anthony Towns, or afternoon, should I say. Karl-Anthony Towns was unbelievable down the stretch, helping the Wolves pull away in a very, very tightly contested game, as the Wolves would just barely emerge victorious over Golden State, 109-103, keeping the Warriors down to 103. Yes, there was no Curry, but Kevin Durant had 39 points, okay? So that made a huge difference. The Wolves end up winning the game. Karl-Anthony Towns, 31-point game. Derrick Rose would have some nice moments against Houston here and there. The Wolves did acquire Derrick Rose in the disappearance, the loss of Jimmy Butler, of course. During the course of time, Derrick Rose would have a nice game against Houston later on, but at the end of the day, Derrick Rose would have some moments here and there. but he looked kind of out of control, this and that. A lot of people not too excited about him. A week later, the Wolves would play the Rockets again. So literally a week later, on another Sunday, this time in the evening, Derrick Rose, awesome third quarter and such, keeping the Wolves in the game, making things extremely interesting. And that's where a lot of us kind of started thinking, I wouldn't mind having him back, this and that. At the end of the day, though, one of the stories of the season was a guy named Nemanja Bjelica, as he would definitely fill in nicely for Jimmy Butler during the course of Butler's injuries. He would start actually at small forward, and he would hit about half of his threes most of the time out there. He had a 15-point game against Houston, but generally speaking, Nemanja Bjelica, despite missing some time here and there, would end up being the best three-point shooter on the Wolves roster, and he may end up being the toughest. He may end up being tough to re-sign, at the end of the day, if the Wolves end up, if the Wolves end up losing him, it's going to be frustrating, as he's just about the only guy you got if you want to have a modern NBA, a stretch four, a guy with a nice catch-and-shoot three. Though, of course, the draft, hopefully we can help shore things up a little bit there and into the offseason with hopefully an Avery Bradley or somebody of that ilk. A lot of people do believe Avery Bradley fits the Wolves' need the best out of all the free agents, and there I go jumping ahead. Nemanja Bjelica, nice positive, though, most of the season. But would have some kind of yucky games here and there, but that's just about everybody on the roster. The season would just kind of be a bunch of back and forth. Okay, we won this one, we lost this one. You lose to Memphis again, which was disgusting. Lost to Philadelphia again, frustrating. We ended up squeaking out one against Dallas at the end of the month, this and that. Then you head into April. Yeah, oh goody. Kind of not very fun at the end of the day. Some scary games here and there. You finally beat the Memphis Grizzlies on the 9th of April. Finally, you get crushed by Utah, though, which was a kind of game where it's like this team doesn't deserve to make the playoffs. And if they do, they're not going to get anywhere anyway, and it's extremely frustrating. Butler had returned by the time the Wolves would play the Memphis Grizzlies, and they end up winning the game. But the Utah game was one of the major lowlights of the season. Another Sunday afternoon / Sunday evening type of game. 121-97. Just disgusting. Rubio wouldn't suit up for the Jazz in the playoffs due to injury, which is frustrating for them, I'm sure. But Donovan Mitchell would help them out, obviously. Rubio, huge night, though, kind of schooled the Wolves. He only had 3 assists in the game, but he nailed 5 of 6 threes. And that's what kind of left us extremely frustrated. Again, terrible perimeter defense. A team that didn't look like they had any fight whatsoever. Andrew Wiggins shot 22 shots. Yeah, he had 23 points, but it took 22 shots to get there. That's not good. And generally speaking, the team's defense was sleeping. The offense was yucky. Butler hadn't returned, this and that. An awful night for the Wolves. Derrick Rose wouldn't even see the court, though, of course, he had an ankle injury at some point along the way as well, which was disappointing. Boy, we all love to see Derrick Rose play well when he does, but how well does he fit this team? You lose to Denver, you figure that might be it. Then you finally beat the Lakers, and then you finish things off, and you beat Denver at the very end there and sneak into the playoffs, and boy, did it feel good. The Wolves wind up with a 6th seed, despite having to win the last game of the season to get into the playoffs. Andrew Wiggins hitting some extremely clutch free throws down the stretch. He didn't have a great game, but he made the free throws he needed to at the very end. Only 5 of 8 for the game from the line, but the Wolves end up finally getting in, and Karl Anthony Towns' 14 rebounds represent the 14 years of pain and heartache for Wolves fans, including the last couple of years of Garnett's tenure here. First stint, anyway. The second stint was just a little bit later, but that would end the drought, and the Wolves didn't make it. Butler had 31 points. It was an amazing night for Wolves fans. It was a very happy day as the Wolves would knock the Nuggets out of the playoffs and catapult themselves into the playoffs to play the Houston Rockets. Yes, and that ended up being only a 5-game series, a bunch of yucky games, and one nice one in between. The first game was very winnable and kind of reminiscent of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Golden State Warriors series. Game number 1, extremely winnable, but the Wolves just could not get it done down the stretch. Extremely frustrating. Poor decision-making at the end. A 104-101 loss, and again, that would kind of send things in a Cleveland Cavaliers-type motion, though the Cavs wouldn't even get the Game 3 victory that the Wolves did, where the Wolves kicked the Rockets' butts, 121-105. That was a lot of fun. First playoff victory since game number 3 against the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals in 2004. So the first playoff victory since a Western Conference victory, which is pretty cool considering we got that far. But that's the last time the Wolves even played a playoff game. We won game 3 as well, but in this case we were trailing 2-1 rather than leading 2-1. And the Houston Rockets end up beating the Wolves pretty soundly, particularly that fourth game where Andrew Wiggins looked like he didn't even care. And he was just kind of putting up some weak shots after a couple of really good games, by the way, in games 1 and 2. Game 4 and 5 were yucky, 119 to 100 and 122 to 104 at the end of the day. And that was kind of all she wrote as the season wrap-up officially jumps in. Of course, yes, I was just kind of going over the season in review. I hope that was okay for you. That's usually how I like to do it, just to kind of give you a vibe of how the season went. A lot of up and down type of games. You saw excitement from Jimmy Butler. You saw the injury with Jimmy Butler. You saw poor shot attempts from Butler. You saw amazing shots from Jimmy Butler. You saw some nice defense. You saw some horrible defense. And I think the horrible defense outweighed the nice defense because it happened more often than not. You saw Karl Anthony Towns out of position. You saw Karl Anthony Towns look like a guy who wanted to play defense. You saw Andrew Wiggins be clutch at times, but generally speaking, take steps back this season. You saw Andrew Wiggins take major steps back this season. Overall shooting percentage was a significant drop-off. Efficiency, a significant drop-off from previous years. His efficiency rating actually puts him below average for wings in the NBA. Below average offensively. Wound up with almost 18 points a game. Not even 44% from the floor. Just 33% from downtown. Teague would get to about 37. Karl Anthony Towns actually shot 42%. Slightly higher than Bjelica, but I think Bjelica is more of a guy you expect to be more of a three-point shooter than Karl Anthony Towns, because Towns' inside game has a little more going on than Bjelica's inside game. Even though Nemanja Bjelica does have ability to get the job done in multiple ways, Nemanja Bjelica is not the kind of guy is not the kind of inside threat you'd see as Karl Anthony Towns. It's okay that Karl takes threes, and I'm very happy that he does, as long as he doesn't overdo it. You want to see more and more, though, focus on Bjelica rather than Karl Anthony Towns from downtown, but I suppose both of them can keep it coming as much as possible. Derrick Rose does not have a three-point game, and that is why I'm not the most excited about bringing him back. As much as I like guys that slash to the basket, that's the kind of basketball I like personally, but it's not successful in the NBA like it was in the past. So, as somebody who is not a fan of this run-and-gun style that's taken over the league, you kind of have to do it, unfortunately, because of the way defense is played nowadays with the zone defense. Again, like I've talked about it in the past, if you're worried about taking charges, this and that, your opponent's taking charges and getting called for that, you respond to it, you counter it with quick rotations, run-and-gun style, catch and shoot threes, this and that, and that's what's changed the league. And that's where the NBA is today, and you need more of it. And the Wolves do not have it. Derrick Rose, in only 9 games, by the way, which is hard to believe, only 9 games. He only made a couple threes the whole season, about 16% from downtown. Three-point shooting definitely needs to be improved during the offseason. Teague was adequate, about 37%, but you'd think Teague could be more of a 40% guy. I think with his shooting form, I think he could easily be a 40% guy. Easily. There was just a feeling with this team, though, that it wasn't as much part of things, and guys weren't really set up for it as much. We made more threes than we had in the past, but it's still lacking in a big way. And it doesn't help when you have a guy in Andrew Wiggins who can't make them at a high clip. He couldn't even make 65% at the free throw line. He was just over 64%. You're never going to win anything with a guy shooting that poorly at the free throw line if he's supposed to be one of your offensive weapons. It's not like he's Shaquille O'Neal with a goofy shoulder injury that he had as a kid. That's why his shooting motion is so weird at the free throw line. That's not Andrew Wiggins' excuse. He doesn't have it, where Shaq did. 64% is unacceptable for a wing in the NBA, especially one taken number 1 overall in the draft. It is unacceptable for a player of Andrew Wiggins' ilk, and things need to change dramatically, or he needs to be suited up elsewhere and then watch him blow up there. And that's where the fear does come in for a lot of Wolves fans when you talk about Andrew Wiggins in the future coming into, as we head into his contract the next 2 to 3 years. Where is Andrew Wiggins going to go? What is his direction going to be? Odds are he's going to stay with the Wolves because his contract is unattractive. But is there this team that's got this secret plan for him that is going to try to manipulate us into trading him away and beating us in the trade? That could easily happen as well. I think Andrew Wiggins will stay with the Wolves long term, though. That's my guess. And the hope is that he can come out of this funk because it's there. Andrew Wiggins' responses towards other players, other big-name players being added to the team has not been good. And it's extremely frustrating. When Andrew Wiggins was a rookie and he was the number 1 option, you could just see the star potential. Karl Anthony Towns came in, and it seemed like Wiggins kind of felt like, oh, I guess I'm going to take a little teeny back seat now. I guess I have to because Karl Anthony Towns is looked on as a better player, even though I think I'm a great player, but I guess I have to take the back seat. And it's almost like a mental block that he has. And then you bring in Jimmy, and it's kind of like, well, game over for Andrew Wiggins. Because Jimmy's going to take way more shots, this and that. Jimmy Butler and Wiggins, there was friction during the regular season. During the whole season, obviously the postseason too. Jimmy Butler's not happy with Andrew Wiggins' work ethic. He's not happy with Andrew Wiggins' defense, this and that. And there was friction. And Butler's frustration continues as he enters the final year of his contract. He is eligible for an extension. Will he sign one? Not sure. And that's where we're really at a crossroads here because I don't know how long Tom Thibodeau is going to be the coach. And, I mean, you even had, just a week ago, Trent Tucker wrapping up the In the Zone show. I listen to it in podcast form because I like to listen to shows that way for whatever reason. I don't like to listen live because that's just how I am. I'd rather kind of go outside and do my thing. Not that you can't do it that way, but I like to listen to other stuff too. That's kind of why, other podcasts. But at the end of the show, Dave Sinekin asked, is Tom Thibodeau the right guy for this team? Is he the right coach for this team? And he's like, I don't know. And then he said, okay, black and white answer, I don't think so. That was what Sinekin said, black and white answer. And to hear Trent Tucker, who is not necessarily a guy who comes out and says stuff like that very often, yeah, even Trent Tucker is saying, I don't think so. So obviously, it's a situation here. Obviously, there's like a civil war with this team. You have Tom Thibodeau, Jimmy Butler on the same side. Taj Gibson, there was a little friction between him and Thibodeau a little bit later on in the season where he's not all in on every little thing. You could definitely sense that. Jeff Teague not all in on everything, even though, well, he thought Tyus Jones should get more minutes, even though you consider Jeff Teague a veteran, which he is. I'm not really sure Jeff Teague is all the way buying into Tom Thibodeau's ways. Karl Anthony Towns and Tom Thibodeau, it's very ugly. There was even talk about we're going to trade Karl Anthony Towns, this and that. There was even somebody posting a Photoshop of Karl Anthony Towns in a Suns jersey, and Karl Anthony Towns clicking like on it or liking it, loving it, whatever on Twitter. Yeah, so I don't know. It'd be like the Wolves trade Karl Anthony Towns for the number one pick in the draft and other pieces, this and that, because you got to match this, match that. And by the way, Karl Anthony Towns, with all that said, is eligible for his big extension, just like Andrew was last summer, because it's only a year later. It was the class of 14, then the class of 15, this and that, in terms of, this guy being eligible, and this and that, class of 14, in terms of this guy being drafted, this guy being drafted. It's going to be extremely interesting this summer what the Wolves do, because a lot of people do believe there will be some type of a splash of some sort in this offseason, some type of significant trade. Jeff Teague, what's going to happen with LeBron James, this and that. LeBron James, obviously not on the winning side in the NBA Finals, and it wasn't really close, much to my chagrin. I'd rather see another 2016 again, where the Warriors do not win. And they end up walking off the court with their heads hanging. I kind of like that feeling more than seeing them count 1, 2, 3, seeing Steph Curry do that, which is what he did. But Steph Curry did count 1, 2, 3. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Back to the Wolves, the task at hand. Jamal Crawford's gone. Bielitsa, nice improvement in the offseason, this and that. Nice improvement during the offseason into the regular season, this and that. Kyrie Irving, all that. We'll talk about that more in the second segment. Let's get to the awards, as long as I've delayed that conversating, putting a bow on this regular season and postseason. Nice to see the Wolves back in the playoffs, but when you're seeing a team divided the way it is, Tyus Jones was even looking to request a trade before Tom Thibodeau kind of smoothed things over, saying the minutes will be there, even though the chances of signing Derrick Rose are pretty decent. Derrick Rose will play shooting guard, which then, again, leaves things open for Tyus Jones. Jones and Rose did play together, and they actually played well together. So I don't think Derrick Rose coming back would hurt Tyus Jones, because Derrick Rose doesn't play point guard anymore. Those days are kind of over, so he won't have to cut to the basket as much. You just wish Derrick Rose had a catch-and-shoot three to his game, and I don't know. I think if he wants to last a long time in the NBA, he's got to add that, and he's got to add it soon. Terry Porter did it, and my goodness, Porter was always a good three-point shooter, though, It's just that he became more of just catch and shoot rather than slashing to the hoop, where I think Rose relies much more on slashing to the hoop and some mid-range shots, which I don't dislike that much, but it's not going to be as successful today. That 16%'s got to triple pretty much, double or triple, if Derrick Rose hopes to be in the NBA for a significant amount of time. Maybe not triple, but like 2.5. 2.5. How about something like that? Boy, Gorgui Dieng, the odds of him getting moved in the offseason, he's another story that I didn't even talk about much during the whole time. And that's the whole point, because Gorgui Dieng's minutes got reduced so much by Taj Gibson's addition. His contract is high, considering he's 1 year into the 4-year, $64 million contract, which didn't sound all that bad. But now we're sitting here, and what do we do with Gorgui Dieng? Odds are he will be packaged in some type of a trade. That will happen. Jeff Teague possibly could be involved now. Kyrie Irving could possibly be available if LeBron James goes to Boston and they can't play together, though Kyrie Irving supposedly said that he would love to play with LeBron again. And if it happens, it happens. He will believe LeBron could go to Houston. Who knows? Again, second segment. Sorry. Don't be surprised, though. I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Teague is traded with Gorgui Dieng in some type of a significant deal. Tyus Jones hopefully will be kept on. He played all 82 games, and you know what? That's great. Karl Anthony Towns, 82-game club. Andrew Wiggins, despite my extreme frustration with you all bleeping season, well, congratulations, Iron Man, Andrew. 82 games again. Taj Gibson, 82 games. So we will pass out the awards for that. Perfect Attendance Award, we'll call it. Perfect Attendance Award. It's you just get a little certificate that says perfect attendance. They don't give you a huge trophy or anything, like in school or whatever. They just give you a little certificate, perfect attendance. Good job, guys. Or if it's at work, you get like some kind of a bonus. Good job, perfect attendance. I'm guessing they get something like that. But who am I to say? Justin Patton did play one game, so when I said he didn't play a minute in the NBA, well, he played 3 minutes and 44 seconds. So, Justin Patton, General Patton, I salute you. And Tom Thibodeau saluted him real nicely with 3 minutes and 44 seconds. And he made one basket. So, all right. Justin Patton has scored his first basket of his NBA career. And that's it. Well, at least he got in. Anthony Brown, same thing. 3 minutes and 44 seconds. Anthony Brown, though he did not make his first basket, he did get his first assist. Okay, he did make his first basket. It was actually a three-point shot. So good job, Anthony Brown. Passing out some awards there. Marcus Georges-Hunt, I'm not sure what's going to happen with him. He played a nice role for a little while and then kind of didn't anymore. He just kind of got buried on the bench. Cole Aldrich only got into 21 games, and the guy's skill is not that good. He averaged about 2 minutes a game, which means, again, garbage time in the last couple seconds. All these guys like J.J. Redick, Avery Bradley, what's the guy's name? Contavious Caldwell-Pope, guys like that who've played starter minutes. If you're going to come to this team, I don't know. I can't guarantee anything for them, and that's not it doesn't look attractive as a free agent coming to play for Tom Thibodeau, does it? So as we try to put a bow on this season and the current state of the Wolves, Tom Thibodeau, in the words of Trent Tucker and the In the Zone show, In the Zone locally, it's been on KFAN since 1995, by the way. That's pretty long. I don't think so. Is he the right coach for this team? I don't think so. No. Within a year, Tom Thibodeau will no longer be the head coach of the Timberwolves because I don't think things are going to improve. I don't see any chance Tom Thibodeau improves this team. And I'm sorry to throw some shade on you, I don't know if it's a modern term or old school. Maybe it's modern. It seems modern to me. Stu Benson kind of introduced me to that, and I know it's been out there for a while. I just didn't get it. Now I get it. I'm sorry to throw some shade on you guys that are listening, that are very loyal, very excited Timberwolves fans that want to see this team succeed, that don't want to hear negative talk. As long as Tom Thibodeau is the coach and president of basketball operations, this team's going to have a hell of a time, man. And I swear the guy set this team back with his Jimmy Butler acquisition. As much as I like Jimmy Butler, he's not going to get younger, he's going to get older. And he's significantly older than Zach LaVine. And I'm not a diehard Zach LaVine fan. I'm not oh my God, Zach LaVine's the next Kobe Bryant. Oh, Zach LaVine's the coolest guy in the world, posing with his bajillion-dollar BMW. I don't care about your BMW. Put the ball in the basket. Put the ball in the basket and lead our team to victory. That's what I care about. I don't care about any of your social media, any of your cool outfits, your tattoos, whatever the hell it is that represent you. I don't care how you express yourself. I don't want to even see it, frankly. I just want to see you play the game. That's all I care about. I wish players worried more about the game rather than expressing themselves, quite frankly. But if you're going to express yourself, I guess I can't do anything about it. It's kind of like me complaining about rain, which I do all the time. It's not like I can wave a magic wand and make it stop raining, so I don't know. I complain about a lot of things I have no control over. Even though I don't like it, I can't control it. So, with that said, let's pass out the bleeping awards. This is the longest show ever, probably. Okay, not really. I hope I'm not boring you to death and going on and on and on, but there's a lot to say, and there's a lot more I could say that I'm probably leaving out. And I think I may have drugged the season in review a little longer than I probably should have, but it was dramatic, and there was a lot of storylines to it. The most valuable player for the season, it would have gone to Jimmy Butler with a bullet, but again, at the same time, the stupid shot attempts and the injury derailed things a little bit, so he's going to share it with Karl Anthony Towns, who also, in the past you'd think would get it easily, but the frustrating regression defensively, and then progression and regression and progression and regression and progression and regression. You don't know what the hell direction he's going defensively. Is it better? Is it worse? I think it's slightly better, but it needs to get much better. Karl Anthony Towns coming into the draft is supposed to be a defensive stud, like a David Robinson, who could also score 25 points a game. And if he does continue in that direction, then okay, there's your David Robinson. And let's start hoisting some Larry O'Briens as soon as Curry's ankles catch up with him, which I think they will. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk or to curse anybody. Stuff catches up. Guys get old, and it catches up. Kobe Bryant, everybody else. Father Time is undefeated. Biggest disappointment of the season. It's you, Tom Thibodeau. No. Well, yeah, he can share it, but it's Andrew Wiggins as a player, without a doubt. Andrew Wiggins dropped off more than I can imagine. You saw moments of Andrew Wiggins, and they were so few and far between. It was like watching a couple meteors coming down. When you're hoping for a meteor shower, and you only get one or two, instead of hundreds, maybe even thousands of meteors. And if these clowns would stop making this damn noise, I'd feel a lot better. But they're not going to. The clowns below me. Oh, Andrew. Andrew, there's still hope for you. There's still quite a bit of hope for you. At age 22, I think there's still a pretty damn good chance Andrew Wiggins could become a great player. But he's got a long way to go. A long way to go. This is why I keep rehashing, going over the same crap over and over again, and I'm probably annoying you. But, Butler, Wiggins, this and that. I don't know where to go, and I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I don't know what to say. But Andrew Wiggins was the biggest disappointment of the season, so I better just get off it. He was the biggest disappointment. He dropped off. He didn't respond well, when he probably should have. I mean, just because another star comes in doesn't mean you have to completely lose your mojo. It doesn't have to happen, but it's been happening, and it sucks. So get your head out of your ass, Andrew Wiggins. As maybe a Bobby Knight might say, you better get your head out of your ass! That type of talk. Biggest surprise was Nemanja Bjelica, a guy that a lot of people thought was kind of left for dead a year ago. A guy who maybe had a little bit of defensive prowess, maybe could shoot a teeny tiny bit, but generally speaking looked like a guy that barely belonged in the NBA. But right now, Nemanja Bjelica looks like a guy who could be in the NBA for another 12 years. Okay, maybe not that long. I forgot he's 28. But okay, another 8 years. Okay, 8, maybe 10, but 8 years. And be a nice catch and shoot. And also be just an overall stretch four who can play an inside and outside game. He can play an inside game. He can actually attack the basket, and he's a smart, solid defensive player as well. And he can also be capable of some really nice passes here and there. Just here and there. Not a major playmaker, but can make plays. And that's what I like about Nemanja Bjelica, and I hope the Wolves are able to sign him. But who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what his relationship with Tom Thibodeau is? It can't be that bad because Tom Thibodeau did show faith in him, and when he showed him the faith, him being Thibodeau, Nemanja Bjelica stepped up and performed pretty well. He had some eggs, some nasty games. He had some egg on his face out there on occasion, but generally speaking, a pretty solid season. So well done, Nemanja Bjelica, most improved player. and of course, biggest surprise for the Timberwolves. With that, I will finally wrap up this probably what you would probably call an elongated first segment. And now you're going to hear a little segment 1.5. We'll get into segment 2, and we're going to continue to go from there. By the end of next season, Tom Thibodeau will not be the head coach. And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion, and for the second straight year, I'm going to have a segment 1.5. I thought that was going to catch on and I was going to keep it coming, but, well, maybe it'll just be for segments like this when I want to just briefly talk about the postseason when it's supposed to be a show all about the Timberwolves, or so people want. This one will probably be longer than last year's. Like last year, I just came up here and just said, you know, boy, the Golden State Warriors, their three-point shooting is infectious. Boy, you come there, you know, man, I'm so impressed with how they make their threes and all that, and how it's infectious. And, you know, it's like I never liked the team, this and that, but hey, you know what? At least give them credit. Great season. Yeah, well, yeah, okay. Don't worry. To those of you out there that are tired of hearing me rant and scream and curse about the Golden State Warriors, how I hate them with a passion, this and that. Yeah, that's kind of true. I'll admit, yes. But sometimes I get competitive. Sometimes I overreact. And because I'm pissed off at the game itself. You know, when a player gets really pissed off and they want to knock somebody's eye out, basically, or crack their eye socket with their fist. And then after the game, they're kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Well, maybe that's kind of me, but it's like, but I still hate him. That type of thing. That's me with the Warriors. Yeah, well, the Houston Rockets should be the NBA champions at the end of the day. I think the Houston Rockets would have won the NBA title if Chris Paul did not have the whole hamstring injury. You know what? But at the end of the day, bleep happens, and that's why we're where we're at. Golden State's Steph Curry, in particular anyway, took it and ran once Mr. Chris Paul said, I'm better than him, this and that. He's just a better three-point shooter. Well, you know, it's a good argument. Chris Paul's a fantastic player. But for those of you out there thinking that when Chris Paul hit that clutch shot that he put the Houston Rockets up 3-2, and I strongly believe, in position to win the series before the hamstring injury, strongly believe position to win the series. Even if Golden State won Game 6 by 40 points, I think Houston would have outlasted the Golden State Warriors in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals had Chris Paul been healthy. Excuses, got it. Okay, I got it. But at the same time, those of you out there saying that hamstring injury was karma for Chris Paul shimmying back at Steph Curry, with all due respect, what the flying bleep are you talking about? Karma for doing a shimmy at the guy who does more shimmies than shimmy himself? I mean, what the hell are you freaking talking about? So if that was the case, Steph Curry would be recovering from about 3 or 4 ACLs by now with how many bleeping histrionics he does every bleeping game. So with that said, I'm going to try to calm down. But that was ridiculous. And I had to get that off my chest. My God, did I have to get that off my chest. How is that karma? Oh, my Lord. For doing one shimmy? One! Stuff like that. Okay, you know what? Congratulations to the Warriors on getting the job done. Cleveland was an absolute bleeping mess before the playoffs started. They were an absolute bleeping mess in the early stages of the Indiana series. Then all of a sudden something clicked and they started playing like world beaters. And then after that stupid idiot with more tattoos than skin cells made a stupid idiot play, and all of you think he's still a good player. Okay, no, you don't. It was a stupid idiot play. All of you saw it. J.R. Smith, blah, blah, blah. Offensive rebound about 2 feet from the bleeping basket with X amount of time remaining in the game. All he had to do was put it back up or call timeout, whatever it is. Whatever the situation is, so he didn't get swatted into the third row in the other county. Didn't get swatted over to San Francisco from Oakland there. But whatever it was, J.R. Bleepin Smith. Again, more tattoos than skin piercings. And whatever, I guess that's his thing. I'm I'm not a fan particularly of that, but go ahead, do whatever. That's not the point at the end of the day. Just the fact he's just, the guy's focus is about, you get the guy has no focus. It's not about his focus, it's the fact that he has none. And when you're that unfocused in that moment, get the hell off my team, get the hell out of my locker room, get the hell out of my organization, get the hell out of here. Go join some expansion team or something. Go play in China, whatever it is. Go learn how to play basketball again like Michael Beasley did, supposedly, and Stephon Marbury and all that. Just go. But if somebody wants to sign him, go ahead. If I'm LeBron James, I would demand this guy never plays another game for this organization or I'm out of here. But I guess they're all just in their little brotherhood. They all love each other and la-di-da. We're all just wishy-washy, and that's the end of the day. They all just love each other. The rivalries, the anger, the this and that. It's not the same. It's not, and it's never going to be the same. I don't necessarily want guys getting trucked, guys getting broken vertebra, this and that. I don't necessarily want a Bill Laimbeer out there clotheslining everybody he doesn't like. But, my God, I mean, there's so many things I can come and say here in this segment. That's why I'm here for this segment. I have to get this off my chest. There's so many things I have to get off my chest because it just stuck in my craw for so bleeping long. I gotta say this. So many things. My tongue's gonna be all over the place saying 10 things at once. So please bear with me here. Is LeBron James the GOAT, the greatest of all time? No. Do I like LeBron James way, way, way more than the Golden State Warriors? Do I think he was way undermanned? And do I think with a little help they could beat the Warriors on a regular basis? Yes. Yes. Is LeBron James way better than anybody in the NBA? Yes. LeBron James is number one in the NBA. Kevin Durant is number two. All of you saying that Kevin Durant is the second MVP of the Warriors, you know what? I get that. But as an individual star, individual player, talent for talent, Kevin Durant is the number two player in the league. I understand Steph Curry's the most valuable player of the Warriors. There, I said it, see? I'm not just up here only bashing Curry, only hating on Curry, only hating on this, only hating on that. It's a well put together team. I love Klay Thompson. He's the only one on that team I really like. Draymond Green is a complete jackass. And Charles Barkley, thank you. I want to punch him too. Tristan Thompson, thank you for kind of punching him, at least using the basketball as a punching glove. I wish he hit him harder. Like to steal a kind of a line from Charles Barkley when he threw a man through a window. He said, hell no, I didn't apologize. I wish we were on the third floor so he wouldn't have gotten hurt. So he would have gotten hurt worse. Pardon me, I'm too excited. I wish he hit him with a freaking boulder. That's what I wish. That's what I want. One guy that I would like a little Bill Laimbeer action on is that SOB Draymond Green. I'm sick of it. Stop with the clapping. Stop with the taunting. Stop it. That's the one thing that I gotta say about all this. You can say it's celebrating and having fun, but eventually it becomes taunting. The taunting has to stop. I think there has to be something done about it a little bit. If you're gonna go ahead, move around, cut to the basket, cut to the 3-point line, move to this part, catch and shoot threes. Okay, that's your game, and if it works and you win championships, God bless you. But if you're going to make a scene every bleeping time something goes your way and doesn't go the other team's way, it gets to a point, I think it's taunting. Especially Draymond Green. Especially. Curry's second, though, with the bleeping shimmying. One thing, too, as I jump back and forth, and again, this is a twisty, crazy, wacky segment 1.5. This is an all-timer for it. In fact, it's only the second one in existence for me. But it's going to be an all-timer in a lot of ways. in passion, energy, craziness, this and that, and length. Steph Curry, to his credit, and he got some respect from me for this. And I'm saying this with full sincerity. About the shimmy from Chris Paul back to him, I was kind of surprised. He said it was well-deserved. He didn't just kind of be like, whatever, basically. He just said it was well-deserved, as in, I asked for it because I do it all the time. That was basically the translation from that comment. And coming back also, he said, hey, if he does it, whoever wins, they can shimmy who all they want, back and forth, this type of thing. But he said it was well-deserved, and I forget exactly some of the stuff he said afterward, but there was nothing he said that I didn't like in that press conference after game number 5. I know it's a long time ago, and I wish I could have been on the air at the time, but you know what, Steph Curry? Thank you. Thank you. I actually liked what he said there, and I like there are times I actually kind of like him a little bit. As weird as that might sound with my crazy rants and insanity. Yes, because of the shimmying. That's what I don't like. And okay, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe, but I think it's taunting a little bit. And okay, if you're going to get taunted back and not respond and not like get in a huge thing about it, or just step up and walk off the set and just for you to just come out and say it was well deserved, that's kind of cool. So thank you, Steph. Thank you. That's good. Personally, I wish everybody would chill on the whole thing and not do it as much, but okay, then shimmy back at the guy, because I guess he handles it in a good way. So shimmy back, guys. Jimmy Butler, you hit a big 3 on Steph Curry to put the Wolves ahead of the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals next year. Do the Jimmy shimmy. do a Jimmy shimmy. How does that sound? Does that sound okay? A Jimmy shimmy? Yeah. That's good. So I guess if it's well deserved and he's going to take him back and just kind of smile at it, not be a total you know what about it, then okay, good. So there's that side. Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. Michael Jordan wins. Michael Jordan versus the Golden State Warriors, the 96 Bulls versus the Warriors, the Bulls win. And if anybody thinks I'm obsessed with dynasties and I want dynasties out there, no, I'm actually sick of dynasties. I want parity. I'd like to see the Charlotte Hornets win a championship, the Utah Jazz win a championship, Philadelphia 76ers, which they've got one since 1983. They're one of the wild cards out there. Heck, Boston's becoming a wild card lately. They've won only one title. They only had one from 1986 up to 2008, but that's okay. They still got 17 of them, so I think we can sit back and say the hell with that. Atlanta Hawks winning a championship. You know, would anybody be upset with that? No. How about the state of Indiana, the Hoosier State? Wouldn't you want to see Indiana win a title? I mean, I had a dream that I believe it was the Charlotte Hornets won a championship, and this was back when they had those purple jerseys. What was his name? Jamal Mashburn was on the club. I don't know if they wore purple jerseys back then, but I had a weird dream about it. But they won the championship, and I was like, that's kind of cool. And that was the original Hornets. It was a weird dream that took me back in time. But would any of you really have a problem with seeing a Charlotte Hornets win a championship? A state like that with the Duke University, North UNC, all that history, but no NBA titles, not even close. I mean, not even close. Indiana Pacers, well, they went to the finals at least one time, and that's good. But other than that, you know, it's been kind of quiet. They had some success. That Reggie Miller era was pretty fun. You had the era a few years back when it was the Heat versus the Pacers. That was a lot of fun. I like seeing parity. I don't want to see Boston win every bleeping year. I don't want to see Golden State win every bleeping year. I don't like dynasties. I want parity. That's what's good about the NFL. You know, it is hockey. Gosh, how many back-to-back Stanley Cups were there won? Like very rare, like once every 20 years or so. And then back in the 70s, you had Montreal winning the cup every bleeping year, and you know who wouldn't get tired of that? So you think I'm clamoring for dynasties of the past? Not really. I'm just appreciating them in terms of I don't like to believe that this one is better than that one, especially the hand check era. Michael Jordan, the way he dominated the NBA in the hand check era versus this league with no hand check. A lot of people believe Michael Jordan would average about 45 points a game, and I agree. Michael Jordan would own the NBA more than he did back then. So I do not buy LeBron James as the GOAT. I don't think he has the mental toughness to be the GOAT. I don't think he has the leadership skills to be the GOAT. But it did hurt him that he did not have a good amount of help around him. That does hurt him. The organization is more dysfunctional than that Bulls organization, which was also dysfunctional a little bit. I mean, you just had an awesome coach and a fortunate general manager. He was a good general manager, but he had an ego the size of Alaska. The owner is just kind of all over the place. It's an organization that says, thanks, now go to hell, basically. That's kind of what the Bulls have always been. Why they did it to Tom Thibodeau, I kind of see why now, and I think the Wolves need to do the same thing. Maybe don't go quite as far as like trolling the guy for like 17 paragraph columns, trolling the guy basically. I think that's unnecessary. But yeah, where am I? What am I talking about again? Right? No, but that's kind of my take on the whole situation with the whole GOAT conversation. Michael Jordan's still the GOAT. And I'm not living in 1988, even though I wouldn't mind doing that. I wouldn't mind going into the Wayback Machine and kind of hanging out there and not really coming back to 2008 ever again. I would not mind kind of staying in this in the 80s. But at the same time, that's more of a culture, and I don't know. I like the 80s. Let's just say music, movies, all that. Video games were better, in my humble opinion. Not everybody has to agree. In fact, a lot of you probably don't. Things were better about the NBA. Things were worse about the NBA. You know, things are better now. Things are worse now. This and that. We all have a right to our opinion. I just adjusted the microphone. Hopefully that didn't screw things up too much. Because I'm guessing there's still an echo here in Golden Valley at the time I'm recording this weird 1.5 segment 1.5. But, man, that's my whole take here. I mean, this is stuff I've wanted to get off my chest for so long, and God, does it feel good to get it off my chest. I don't have to like the Warriors. Don't get mad at me if I don't, okay? And I know I'm trolling a little too much. I know I overreacted, but I'm trying to give you a more objective, intellectual response to it now. It's not that I'm clamoring for the past necessarily as much as I just believe that those teams were better. I believe that Bulls team was better. The Spurs versus the Warriors, I don't know. That would be tough. Lakers, Shaq and Kobe, I don't know. I mean, Vince Germano would tell you they'll sweep them every time. I don't know. I just got this feeling, you know, Michael Jordan was the kind of player that he left the other team literally with towels over their head like, whatever. What are you going to do? I mean, he shut me down. I look like crap, and he scored 40 on me. Shut me down and scored 40. That type of thing, where it's a whole two-way ass-whooping. And that's how it always was with Michael Jordan. He was that good. He was the best defender in the league for most of his career, the best offensive player in the league for most of his career, and he gained leadership skills as he developed. He had the skinny days with the Pistons. He was a little bit thinner, and he was trying to take it all upon himself. The Pistons beat the shit out of him every freaking year. And then all of a sudden he started putting on muscle, and then he started showing confidence in his teammates. LeBron James plays a team game in terms of he's got that Magic Johnson ability where he'll get like a bajillion assists and he'll kind of lead the way. But then he kind of, you know, I don't know. When things go a little sour, he pouts. And Michael Jordan wasn't really like that. I love LeBron James. He's the closest thing to Michael today, like Kobe was about 10 years ago. But in both cases, I don't think either one of them in their prime versus Michael in his prime were a better player. I don't think they're better leaders either. I don't. You don't have to get mad at me. It's opinion. I actually think I'm winning the argument a little bit. And I'm not saying that for ego-based. I think it's just a lot of you already feel that way before I say it. Okay? I'm not necessarily convincing you one way or another. I'm just projecting your thoughts onto this onto the airways here, into the podcast or iPod or Android device or God knows what else out there, your laptop or whatever the heck it is. I'm just kind of projecting my thoughts and your thoughts all in one, at least trying my best to do so. To me, Michael Jordan is that guy, one way or another. So it was a combination of things, my real reasons for this and that. You know, I think the zone defense has damaged the NBA. I do. Hand check, okay, it slowed the league down. It's not good. But now it's almost like you can't even come near anybody without a foul being called. So you have to kind of leave a little bit of space. And I don't know, guys just are able to launch threes, this and that. There's no physicality. Nobody's scared of each other anymore like they were back in the day. There's no keeping somebody honest, this and that. You just get called for charges every 10 seconds, which is lame. And if you don't get called for charges, that's when you set up the three-point shot and you play the run and gun style. And that was the whole response, the whole intellectual response to guys taking a bajillion charges back in 2009, 2010. Okay, so be it. If you're not going to let us drive to the basket, we're going to set up the run and gun style where we get rid of the ball instead of drive to the basket, and it's from 3-point range, and we're going to make everybody on the team as good at threes as humanly possible. And bada bing, bada boom, it's working, and that's what's happened. Do I like it? Not really, but whatever. If it's working, I guess go ahead. I mean, I don't like it very much, and I know you think I'm kind of a troll for saying so, but I'm just giving you my honest opinion. And hopefully that's one of the reasons you're listening and you're not just like sitting here stewing at me for making this opinion. So with that, I think that's enough. I don't know what else to say other than, well, I wish the Wolves could adjust a little more to this situation. We have like one 3-point shooter on the roster, if that, and it's a guy named Bielitsa. Okay, Karl Anthony Towns too. Other than that, though, whatever. Toronto, of course, letting go of Mr. Casey after getting swept by Cleveland. That's why it's just you're so impressed with Cleveland with the way they handled the situation. And then, well, yeah, the stupid-ass J.R. Smith screwed everything up. And that led to my pretty loud rant a few minutes ago. And that's about all she wrote. Let's cut this out here. About 20 minutes on segment 1.5. Had to get it off my chest. I got it off my chest. That's what happens when you move and you have a really late start to the season with the cleanups, and then you move and oh my God, was it busy. So I had no in-between show like I usually do. I still would have probably had a bit of a rant anyway with all the crap going on. And those of you calling me a troll for not liking the Warriors, I'm tired of people out there trolling LeBron James for he's 3-6 and this and that. Okay, we're happy for you. Great, You don't need to troll him every bleeping second. He deserves credit. He's a pretty awesome player, and he was undermanned. Is he as good as Jordan? No. Okay? So, that's it. About 21 minutes now. That's enough. God bless you. And we'll get back to where we need to be with State of the Timberwolves. And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion, segment number 2. This is one that I've been looking for quite a while. Hopefully you have as well. Draft and free agency. Now, of course, the NBA draft, not quite as exciting as it was the past few years, even into last season because we still had the lottery pick and all that. We're finally out of the lottery, so that's the good part. It's just, I wish we could enjoy it a little more than we have. But at least we didn't trade the pick away yet. There's always a possibility the Timberwolves will package the pick with somebody else, like a Gorgie Zhang, or what have you, a sign and trade with Nemanja Bjelica. Who knows what's going to happen? Of course, that would have to be a qualifying offer. That's probably a little more complicated than we would like to believe. Who knows what teams are going to throw at Nemanja? We'll get to that second. We're going to start with the draft here. I do have a player in mind that I would like to select. But first and foremost, we'll go over some of the players that the Wolves just might wind up with. This and that. I do like Moritz Wagner out of Michigan, I'll admit. He's not spectacular, but he's not a name that I've even really had notes with. It was more of an eye test type of thing with Michigan. I didn't really write anything down about Moritz Wagner, but at the same time, I kind of like him, and I figured I'll bring it up. In case the Wolves are looking to deal away Gorgie Zhang, maybe they would like to have Moritz Wagner as some type of a developmental project behind Taj Gibson, and that would not be a bad idea because Gibson is, well, he's over 30 years old. Gorgie Zhang, well, he's getting closer to 30, so, time flies and guys age quickly, unfortunately, just like us, right? Yeah, all of us. So, kind of is what it is there. Moritz Wagner, though, that's a name I've wanted to kind of at least talk about a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if the Wolves wound up with him at some point, somehow, some way. Maybe we trade down and get him. Otherwise, a lot of teams have him going to Dallas. Can't imagine why they would mention Dallas. That's kind of funny that they put that together. You can read between the lines with Dallas, a German player, and the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, I think you can read between the lines there. Kind of funny. So yeah, let's just move on. I don't know what's wrong with me. First and foremost, they changed it. It just updated. For the longest time, a lot of the mock drafts had the Wolves taking a guy by the name of Anthony Simmons. Whatever his name is, he was undecided. He had left high school already, had already graduated high school, didn't play for a college team. Interesting, kind of a raw talent type of guy, but I don't know, he's just turned 19. He's just turning 19, literally, or he just has turned 19 as of the 15th. So kind of funny. So he's eligible for the NBA and all that. I'm kind of intrigued with the player that he's obviously somebody who's been on my radar, somebody they're showing the Wolves to take now, at least on NBADraft.net. Because that's one I use as at least a cheat sheet to have all the players in front of me and what teams may or may not be thinking, what mock drafts may or may not be thinking. It's just fun to have it in front of you. But Anthony Simmons, he showed up at 20 on several mock drafts, as in the Wolves selecting him at age 20. He's old enough for the draft, still undecided if he's going to go to a school or not, but more than likely will wind up in the NBA. He has noticeable talent, but he's too raw to really judge how well he'll translate to the NBA, and it's unlikely he would see the light of day in Thibs' rotation. Would we take him and then put him in the G League, let him develop, kind of like, well, Patton, sort of? Of course, Patton hurting his foot didn't help either. Hard to compare this guy to anybody, as I like to compare people to somebody else. My second player listed, I'm going to skip him for now, because he's a player I'm really targeting, so that's kind of a spoiler, I guess you could say. Number 3, Dante DiVincenzo, hopefully I'm saying it correctly, out of Villanova, of course. He was the most valuable player of the NCAA Final Four, kind of a Golden State Warriors type of effort by the Villanova Wildcats, and I enjoyed it very much because I like Villanova. And, I enjoy Villanova. It's not like I necessarily hate the style of play that's been out there. It's just, it is what it is, and, why do I need to keep going over it? He's a very poised shooter, is Dante DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo, very poised shooter, outstanding in the catch and shoot from the outside. He'll make a very solid role player in the NBA. He's actually pretty good in traffic as well. Extremely accurate shooter. I really love his shooting form. Just a lot of poise. Like, he doesn't really get phased that easily, and he's a big game performer. Like I said, 31 points in that game against Moritz Wagner and the Michigan Wolverines. He might be a J.J. Redick type in the NBA. And, it's not if he's white or black, per se, as we always like to compare people that way, which isn't always the best idea. But he does kind of remind me of Redick a little teeny tiny bit. Maybe not as disliked as Redick coming out of Duke. It seemed like a lot of people hated Redick for some odd reason. But he's an intriguing possibility, and he has practiced with Tom Thibodeau, as it's not been public. Guys like Darren Doogie Wolfson and others have made notes that he's been viewed and such with Tom Thibodeau. A player that is showing up as 20 right now is a guy I'm also very, very intrigued with. He's very, very high on my radar. Troy Brown out of Oregon. I'm looking for that Anthony Simmons, and where is he? Where'd he go? He slipped all the way to Orlando at 35. So there it is, Anthony. He's the next Penny. That's funny. Boy, did they drop him down, because he's kind of raw and kind of an unknown. Nice ball handling, got that crossover action going on. He's got a nice motion on his shot, but does he look raw. Oh, so I don't think the Wolves take him at 20. I don't. A guy that I think is a strong possibility at this position is Troy Brown out of Oregon. 6'7", extremely long, very long. He's a little on the raw side. He's a strong defender, more than capable from the outside with a shot. It's not the prettiest form I've ever seen, but it goes in, that type of thing. With those long arms, he's able to jump those passing lanes, long arms and quick feet, per se. He explodes to the basket, kind of a coast-to-coast type of guy, where he'll knock the ball away, this and that. The hope is that he doesn't become a gambler like a Corey Brewer, because that's the other possibility, where Brewer is kind of that long kind of guy, but Brewer incapable of putting muscle on that body, not because of his fault, but because of the way his body is designed. So, unfortunately, that's just the way God made him. A little bit too skinny is Corey Brewer. God bless him, though. He was one of the highest scoring individual. He had one of the highest scoring individual games of all time. I believe 51 points for the Wolves years ago, which is still insane. Wow, I can't even believe it, but Carl actually knocked it away. Him and Mo Williams. Mo Williams surpassed Corey Brewer. So he went from one role player to another. Mo Williams with 52, and then Carl with 54 this year. So a more appropriate name to represent the Timberwolves' highest scoring game of all time in that sense. Troy Brown, though, very interesting. I got off into that place. I guess it was because of Corey Brewer. He plays a strong game, though. See, that's where he's different than Corey Brewer. He plays strong. He's able to get through traffic and not get manhandled, especially when Corey Brewer got absolutely manhandled in his early days of the Timberwolves, his first stint with the Wolves. Just manhandled. He has a frame that can get bigger. I see it. He's 6'7", 210 at the moment. He's actually a pretty good passer, too. An open floor, a little bit of that outlet pass and kind of that behind the back, kind of moving the ball forward type of stuff. He could be a boomer bust type of guy with star potential on the high end. He could make for a very exciting player in a couple years. It'll take him a little while, 2-3 years, to really start to show serious strides forward. I think he's the kind of guy who would be like 5, 6, 7 points a game his first year. Remember how Jamal Murray started that way? I'm not saying Troy Brown reminds me of Jamal Murray. I forget exactly who he does. I had a name for him, and I'm kind of losing it at the moment. Maybe a little bit like a Jamal Murray, kind of taller guy. He's similar, but Murray is more of an offensive player than Troy Brown, and there's another guy I have identified in that direction. I had somebody and I lost it. I wrote it down, and the bleeping computer completely crashed yesterday, and I lost the whole thing. And I had saved it. I opened the file, and it was a bunch of question marks. And I'm not kidding. It was a bunch of question marks and jumbled data. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. So, yeah, that was fun. You do all your research, you write stuff down, and it gets destroyed. So that sucks. Good thing I have a very good memory, but I don't remember that one detail, which sucks. Gary Trent Jr. out of Duke, a natural catch-and-shoot shooting guard for the modern game. So he definitely fits the modern game very well. If you the Golden State Warriors, the Houston Rockets, hopefully the Timberwolves, because the Timberwolves need to get that going here. Gary Trent looks good in blue, and I wouldn't mind having him in blue. Obviously, his father played for the Minnesota Timberwolves years ago as a bulky power forward who had a really intelligent postgame. His athletic skills were limited, but his postgame was very, very good. Very sophisticated postgame out of Gary Trent. Had a little temper once in a while, would get pissed off and get technical fouls. One time he actually threw a lot of papers onto the court. I still remember that. That's a story from a season ticket holder. Me, a season ticket holder years ago, way back in 99 to 2002. So it was a 4-year stint. Gary Trent Sr., yes, sir. Unfortunately, Gary Trent Jr. did not go to the Gophers, but nobody goes to the Gophers. Just guys named Isaiah Washington that we get all excited about, and he doesn't do all that much. Or hopefully that'll change this year. Isaiah. Please, Isaiah. Please. Please, Isaiah. Please. Otherwise, stick to prophecies in the Bible if you could. One way or another. Don't be like Isaiah Jr. J.R. Ryder. Why I'm going into that direction, I don't know. I'm sorry. Gary Trent, though, natural catch and shoot. He's actually capable of driving to the basket, more than capable of it. He's made some good plays, able to get some athletic dunks in there, a little bit of power game, attacking to the basket. But his biggest attribute for the Timberwolves would be obvious. He is a catch and shoot three-point stud. Beautiful three-point shot from Gary Trent Jr., and I do believe he will be successful in the NBA for many years. Gary Trent Jr. I wouldn't have been surprised if he stayed one more year, but I don't know, because I don't really see him as a star, and it looks like he's going to drop into the bottom third of the first round, and that means the Timberwolves will have a possibility of selecting Gary Trent Jr. They're comparing him to Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield. I hope he turns out better than Buddy Hield, though, because that bull crap Steph Curry comparison that keeps popping up, and there's another guy right now. Stop comparing players to certain guys that are like at the top of the league, like what's that guy? Randy Foye, our guy years ago. Randy Foye, Dwayne Wade, baby, gonna be awesome. And yes, it was that guy that said it. Yes. Oh Lord, gonna be awesome, baby. Well, no, he was not Dwayne Wade. He had a little bit of Dwayne Wade in him, but he was shorter. He was less athletic, and he just wasn't that good. And he couldn't go left. If you can't go left, then wow, that's kind of limited. You're kind of limiting yourself. You're limiting yourself. And obviously it was a tell in the league. And when other players got him to go left, he didn't have much success. And yeah, that sucked. The player that's been bantered about as the next Steph Curry out of Oklahoma is freshman Trae Young. And Trent Tucker even was saying how that scares the hell out of me. And I'm sure it does. It would be scary. Cleveland, for their credit, they have the 8th pick because they made so many trades over the years, so they do have the 8th pick. But, yeah, will they be just trying to refill the cupboards because they're going to be awfully bare come July 1st and stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. Boy. Hooey-ha. Trying to see if any of these other guys might slip. Yep, that Dante. Right now, at one point they had him going to Phoenix. I don't know why these draft picks look different. Yeah, they had him going 16th to Phoenix, now 17th to the Milwaukee Bucks. Don't be surprised there. Troy Brown, though. I like Troy Brown, and he could be a very exciting pick. Okay, now I'm backtracking here, but Gary Trent, I would be happy. I think I would take, Troy Brown is a very intriguing guy, and he is a wing. in some cases they list him as a shooting guard, but he doesn't play like a shooting guard. He plays like a small forward. He looks long, like almost like a power forward out there. He looks so long, like a shooting form and all that. I'm not blown away by his shooting form. I'm blown away by his athleticism and his overall game. He's capable of a lot of things. He can really fill that stat sheet, and hopefully there's more to it than just filling the stat sheet. He's got an amazing future in the league if he wants it. I think Troy Brown. He's one of those kind of guys. Jerome Robinson out of Boston College. He's a junior, so he's a little bit more established. I thought he looked a little older than some of the other guys. Who's he reminding me of? A little bit, I wanted to say Gary Harris. He just looks like Gary Harris. He doesn't play like Gary Harris. Gary Harris is more like Gary Trent. There we go. That's the guy I'd like to see Gary Trent become as Gary Harris. Kind of that catch-and-shoot three-point guy who can really get the job done, make the shots, and, of course, attack the basket a little bit. Jerome Robinson is more like a Derrick Rose, actually. And I don't mean Derrick Rose, MVP Derrick Rose. I mean good role player Derrick Rose who could score anywhere from 11 to 18 points a game. And I did say 18. So he has a capability of being pretty good, I think, Jerome Robinson. Derrick Rose style. So attacking the basket, but a few more threes. So he's a little more modern than Derrick Rose. He's not quite Windows 95 or 98. He's a little bit closer. He's more like Windows 8 when we need Windows 10, that type of thing. I like guys that drive to the basket. Don't get me wrong. So I like Jerome Robinson a lot. Terrific. He's really good through traffic. He attacks that rim and he dunks that son of a biscuit. 6'5", by the way, out of Boston College. He's able to get around defenders with his elusive moves, good ball handling. More of a slasher than outside game. He does bring in some of that outside game, though. He does bring some of it. He brings some, and he's capable of it. Catch and shoot. You know who he reminds me of? But he's bulkier. He's stronger, physically stronger. Lots of swag to his game. Is this starting to sound familiar, Wolves fans? Is it starting to sound familiar? Go ahead and get mad at me. And this is not a black and white comparison. It is just what I'm coming up with here on the fly because, well, this guy wasn't the highest touted person ever. He just started to get better. Zach LaVine without the dunk championships, is that okay?
Liar. You liar, you! Liar!
Is that acceptable? Is it? Can I say it, please? Can I say it? Don't get mad at me, okay? Don't get mad. Hey, chill out back there. Stop it. I don't want to hear it, okay? Stop cursing at me and calling me bleeping more. Hey, now, come on. It's not that bad. Okay. There is a little Zach LaVine to his game. He's got the swag, and he's bulkier, stronger, physically stronger. I don't mean bulkier like in a bad way. I mean he's physically stronger. He'll be better in traffic than Zach was, particularly early on. Zach got beat up a bit out there. But his first year, you barely noticed the guy. His second year, you started to notice him, and then you started to not notice him. And then he got a little bit stronger, a little more confident, and you saw a little more of that swagger. And I kind of see this from Mr. Robinson. Yes, I kind of see a little bit of that out of Jerome Robinson. So, Zach LaVine fans, that might be your guy. Will he be available? I don't know right now because at times some of the drafts have him going right before us to Atlanta. Some of them have him going to Utah, Chicago, Indiana, places like that. I like Jerome Robinson. Because I think he can continue to add the three-point game. Maybe he'll have the swag, the ability to drive to the basket, and just be pretty damn awesome in driving to the basket and making good moves around people and dunking on them, which Robinson does. I don't know about at a slam dunk champion clip, but ability to put the ball in the basket. It doesn't have to be spectacular if it goes in and he gets around people. The spectacular side is that he scores 25 to 30 points in a game, and you're feeling awfully damn good about it. And he develops into a hell of a player. Zach LaVine was not looked at as a hell of a player going into that draft. In fact, some people thought it was a doggone reach by Flip Saunders at 13. Remember? Do you guys remember that? Zach actually supposedly wanted to slip to the Phoenix Suns a few picks later. So he wasn't even that excited about going 13th at the moment. But at the same time, a lot of that bleep man or bleep me was about how excited he was that he was in the NBA. So I don't know. Let's just move on. Josh Okogie, he is from Nigeria, I believe. And he also, where is he? I had him and I lost him. Josh Okogie from Georgia Tech. They have him slipping to very early in the second round. The Wolves' second round pick is 48th. Right now, that's Justin Jackson out of Maryland. So, yep, kind of a very large 6'7" guy. So kind of a Gary Trent, supposedly, out of Maryland. let's get back to Josh Okogie. Okogie. I believe it's Okogie. Sophomore out of Georgia Tech. Very, 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 very athletic. Has a knack for scoring, runs the floor very well. He makes really athletic defensive plays. A little bit of that LeBron James type of stuff where he gets really high and blocking shots. But in this case, blazing quickness, attacking the basket, nice shooting for him. But he also comes from behind and blocks people's shots, the LeBron James style, where he'll block it off the backboard. He'll come up from behind and do that. He did that a few times. This guy's pretty fast, and he is an interesting pick as well. Looks like he's going to slip a bit, but he might be one of those guys that goes early in the second round, and he's like, remember how Draymond Green went real early in the second round? And they're like, that was a pretty intriguing pick by Golden State. Little did we know how valuable he would become with the Golden State Warriors in years to come, where he was a guy you thought would be a very valuable player, role player off the bench for Golden State. And now, as much as I hate him, hate his BS at times, if Dennis Rodman's in the Hall of Fame, I think Draymond Green can get to the Hall of Fame too. And I do not, absolutely do not oppose Dennis Rodman being in the Hall of Fame. I would have voted him in for sure. If I had a vote, I would say yes, Dennis Rodman, Hall of Fame. So that means yes, Draymond Green, Hall of Fame, which might make you, all of you that just think I only hate the Warriors, yes, I don't want them to win, but I'm honest. Is Steph Curry a Hall of Famer? Yeah. Is Klay Thompson a Hall of Famer? Probably. Is Kevin Durant a Hall of Famer? Yes. And is Draymond Green a Hall of Famer? Probably. And I don't mean at the moment. Like if he couldn't play anymore, probably not. But then again, maybe he would get in because out of respect. I mean, Kirby got in because everybody knew he would have gotten over 3,000 hits. Kirby Puckett, for those of you that aren't from Minnesota and don't remember that name very well, Minnesota Twins, 2-time World Series champion. But yeah, Josh Okogie as an intriguing player. He looks natural. He looks like a natural NBA player to me. I like him. Good shooting for him, too. He's going to be an interesting one. I think he's going to be one of those guys that'll get taken in the early second round, late first round, that'll end up sticking around for many years. Wayne Ellington has stuck around. He's not nearly as exciting as Josh Okogie, but he sure can shoot the damn ball, can't he? Wayne Rain Ellington, which just might make a return to Minnesota. Talk about him in free agency. He's actually on the list. Grayson Allen, well, it sounds like they like him an awful lot. But if I took Grayson Allen, it would be 48th. It would not be 20th or something like that. Like if we trade down and maybe we move up in the second round, like 38th, 40th, that's where I take Grayson Allen. If Tom Thibodeau takes Grayson Allen 20th overall, please fire him. Please, Glenn Taylor, please fire him because this is BS. I don't care how gritty the guy is. I don't care that he's physical and he does this and that. He's basically the equivalent of Matt Cook to me. Okay, he's not that bad, but he's a little bit on the dirty side. And what else does he bring? He's okay. He was a decent point guard for Duke, this and that. Decent playmaker. He can shoot a bit. He's gritty. I would take a flyer with him in the second round, but not 20th overall. He's kind of a Brian Cardinal. And, you know, God bless Brian Cardinal, but Brian Cardinal is Brian Cardinal. They call him the custodian for a reason. They wouldn't call him the barista or anything. You know, Mr. Fancy Pants, Mr. Skinny Corey Brewer, who brewed coffee for people and because he's the barista and he makes really nice mochas and stuff. That's great. Best nickname ever. Said no one ever. But Grayson Allen should go 20th overall, said no one ever. He's on the reason I'm mentioning him is because he's been mentioned quite a bit with Tom Thibodeau. Not from Tom Thibodeau to anybody locally, but that it's apparent that Thibodeau likes him. So, yeah. Second round, okay, Tom? Tom Thibodeau, please. Second round. If you value your job, second round. Look at me talking to him about valuing his job. What do I make? Maybe not, yeah. Not even. Yeah, not even. Okay, so should I name the guy? Should I name the guy that I've been eyeing? He's a name that's been mentioned a bit, and he's been semi-close to the Timberwolves in the mock drafts, but has not appeared at 20th. Supposedly he's not visited the Timberwolves either. Not by his choice or anything necessarily, but I don't know. Maybe it's Tom Thibodeau's smokescreen, that type of thing. Maybe he's playing a smokescreen like an NFL executive. That's the thought that's been bouncing around in town. That's maybe the real guy they like. It's not getting any immediate attention from the Timberwolves, and that guy is out of Creighton. That guy is out of Creighton, and it would be the second year in a row the Timberwolves took a player out of Creighton. Justin Patton would be joined by Kyrie Thomas, 6'4", 200 shooting guard, Creighton. Physical, love this guy, love him, and be careful because I love Johnny Flynn too. Remember, so be careful. But I see something out of this guy. Great shooting form, not good shooting form, great shooting form. Very strong, confident game. Not overly athletic, but really good in traffic. I mean, really good in traffic. And is very capable at finishing with men all around him. Reminds me a bit of, should I say it again? Jamal Murray. But bigger and stronger. Bigger, stronger version of Jamal Murray. Maybe not as athletic, but a bigger, stronger version of Jamal Murray where he finishes. He just finishes. Just 2 years, look how Jamal Murray's turned out. I mean, he put 30 on the Wolves like nobody's business. I'm sure he's a little irritated that the Wolves didn't take him. He probably heard Timberwolves Explosion and thought, boy, this guy knows his stuff. This guy knows his stuff. He knows the Wolves should take me and that this team is going to really take off. Problem is we still had Zach LaVine at the time. I don't know. The fit would have been kind of funny. But whatever. Kyrie Thomas is the player I want the Timberwolves to draft. At least at this moment. It can always change in between time. But, well, generally speaking, once I get the Timberwolves Explosion state of the Timberwolves, I have a pretty good idea who I want the Wolves to take. I identify a player. It's close. I mean, I like Troy Brown. And I like, I like Gary Trent. I like Robinson. I like Okaji. I like a lot of these guys. And I hope one of these guys winds up with the Wolves. I mean, it's all different scenarios. Kyrie Thomas's shooting form is just awesome. He's over 40% from downtown. Oh, God. I think this guy's going to have a nice career. I do. After 2 years, again, look how Murray's turned out. I was right. And I think I'm going to be right about Kyrie Thomas, too. I was right about Jamal Murray. So I think I've made up for some of the mistakes I've made in the past, and Johnny Flynn, this and that. But I also talked about on my shows in the past that there was nothing about, and I mean nothing, about Mr. Johnson there. I'm not even remembering his bleeping name anymore. Wesley Johnson out of Syracuse. There was nothing out of him that I saw that was like, oh, there he is. You know, this guy's going to really help this franchise. So I kind of made up for it almost the next year, but I definitely made up for it with Jamal Murray. Chris Dunn was a guy I did like, though, and I was like, Jamal Murray or Chris Dunn, take either one. Take either one, and I'll be very happy. Chris Dunn, I thought, filled a need more, where Jamal Murray was clearly the best overall player at that spot, 5th overall in the 2016 draft. Oh, just love Jamal Murray, and I love what he's brought to Denver, even though I hate Denver, and I wish he was just about any team but them. Either Denver, Golden State, Portland. I hate those teams. Any of those teams, I don't want Jamal Murray there. I want him on the Wolves. I want him on... I don't even like Phoenix anymore. I hate Phoenix now. They're so annoying. Clippers. So, yeah, most of the Western Conference. I wish Jamal Murray was on Boston, Detroit, Philadelphia. That would rock. But instead, he's on the bleeping Denver Nuggets. And watch him go to Portland. Watch him go to frickin' Phoenix or something. Or just come to the Wolves, Jamal. Come to the Wolves. But if not, Kyrie Thomas. Please, Tom Thibodeau. Heed my message. Listen to me. Tom Thibodeau, if humanly possible. Or just listen to yourself. Listen to that still small voice when you watch Kyrie Thomas. Because I know you obviously have watched film on every one of these players. Obviously. Watch closely and pray to God he slips. Pray to God he slips like a lot of these drafts have him slipping past 20. If you have a choice between Kyrie Thomas, Gary Trent Jr., what was the other one? Jerome Robinson. Not Mitchell Robinson, Jerome Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is a center. He would be going right before the Wolves to Atlanta. Any one of those three guys would be pretty freaking cool. And, of course, the other one that I love, Troy Brown. I mean, I like all these guys. And it's not like they're all going to have great careers, but I got a feeling a lot of these guys are going to have decent careers. One or two of them may end up being a bust. I mean, like I said, Troy Brown is a guy, he could be boom or bust. He might be a nothing, and he might be unbelievable. Maybe Jerome Robinson ends up being nothing. I have no idea. Maybe I'm going way overboard with Josh Okaji. But I like Josh Okaji. I think there's something there. I do. We'll see, though. We'll see. Some people, I don't know. It's funny how that Anthony Simons, his comparison was Malcolm Lee. Malcolm Lee. Remember Malcolm Lee? I actually kind of liked him, and so did Marcus, but he barely got a sniff at the NBA. So again, I don't know. That's why I don't think you take Anthony Simmons 20th overall. I think you take a chance with one of these other guys. It's not like they're seniors. They're all like juniors and freshmen, or juniors, sophomores and freshmen, except for Robinson there. Jerome Robinson. He's actually a junior, but there's something there, man. There's something there. Would not be surprised to see Troy Brown or Jerome Robinson wind up with the San Antonio Spurs. That's the kind of organization that will probably take one of those two guys, and then you'll have a choice between Troy Brown, Kyrie Thomas. Right now they have the Philadelphia 76ers taking him at 26, and that would be a massive addition. Oh, God, no, please tell me no. This ain't. Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so, Joe. Golden State taking Gary Trent, 28th overall. Oh, no. No, please, no, not another one. Oh, no, not another elite three-point shooter going to the Warriors. Oh, please. Just take Anthony Simons. Take Anthony Simons and see what happens. And then watch him be the next Kobe Bryant, though. That would be the funny part. Yeah. So right when Steph Curry's getting old and Father Time's undefeated, Father Time remains undefeated like he will with the Warriors, and Anthony Simons is the next Kobe Bryant. Yeah, that's about it. That would be my luck. But if he's not, go ahead and take Anthony Simons. Take a flyer, Golden State. You got 3 championships in the last 4 years. Maybe you should have won all 4 in a row. You should have went New York Islanders on it and won 4 championships in a row. But LeBron stopped you. Ha ha. Take a flyer. Maybe this guy is the next Kobe. Do it. Come on, Golden State. Do it. With that said, again, I will put my Timberwolves Explosion Paladino Joey stamp on Kyrie Thomas. So that is what it is. Yes, sir. There is your gavel. It is time to continue into free agency, if humanly possible, as we would very much like to be doing that again. Well, the situation with the Timberwolves, of course, first and foremost, we got to sign our own free agents. Marcus Georges-Hunt, well, he's got a qualifying offer that would be $1.7 million, just a couple, like $300 below it. So I don't know. I wouldn't mind floating a qualifying offer at him unless you just want to move on. You're not saving a whole lot off the cap, unfortunately, in that case. Andrew Wiggins' contract is kicking in. It's only, $25 million a year or something, so it's not that bad. It's just $25.2 million a year, so not bad. Cole Aldrich, unguaranteed, $6.9 million, so basically $7 million you could get off the books. It's non-guaranteed. Cole, I'm sorry, I love you. Bloomington Jefferson's finest and all that. Cole, maybe you can resurface with Golden State or something. But I don't think... I don't know. I mean, I guess, unless they just figure what the hell, might as well have him at the end of the bench in case something happens. But the skill just isn't there, and the minutes aren't there either. So, I mean, it's been good. Jamal Crawford, $4.5 million is going to be coming off the books if he does keep his word and leave the organization. I think he will, because he's not happy with the minutes. He didn't really agree with what was going on. So player option, $4.5 million. Jamal Crawford will probably go to the Warriors next, or the Houston Rockets. Go to Houston, okay? I'm sick of Golden State. Go to Houston, Jamal, and I'll be cheering for you. All right? Justin Patton, well, we already know that. He signed for a while with that rookie deal and the qualify this and team option that and blah, blah, blah. Nemanja, it's a little under $5 million qualifying offer, but will somebody throw something much larger at him with an offer sheet and the Wolves would have X amount of time to match? We'll see what happens. In this day and age, though, contracts are not cheap, and Nemanja may demand $11 million plus $12 million from somebody with an offer sheet. Will the Wolves match that? I don't know, but don't be surprised if that ends up being the case. Taj Gibson has 1 more year on his contract, $14 million even. Jeff Teague, $19 million, and he has a team player option, for $19 million again in 1920. Jimmy Butler, same thing. Well, this year, $20 million, 20.4, and he has an option. He could opt out after next year for about 19.8. So just under $20 million in each, just under $20 million in that case. So that's the situation there. Derrick Rose, of course, made $290,000 with the Wolves. Do you want to use the whole $8 million exception on Derrick Rose? No, no. Derrick Rose, in my mind, I like him. I do. I actually do. I was giving him a hard time with the Knicks, the Cavaliers, and all that, and I apologize. I thought he did pretty damn well with the Wolves. He did better with the Knicks and the Cavaliers than I gave him credit. At the end of the day, though, do you know how much money Derrick Rose has? And it's not necessarily just because of his Chicago Bulls contract. Do you remember the shoe contract he signed right about that time when he was the MVP of the NBA, circa 2012. Do you remember? $250 million. I believe it's Nike. $250 million for like 10 years. I think he's doing okay. I don't know. The sad part is with this league, it's like a pride thing, and you offer him like a league minimum, and they're like, really, man? They get offended and they leave and all that. But dude, again, I don't think that contract's going away. I don't think that shoe contract got terminated. And if it did, I apologize, but I don't think it did. I think they're stuck with him, like it or not. That's an expensive shoe contract. And if it did go away and I'm completely ignorant, go right ahead and tell me, and I apologize. That's what we're here for. That's why you're there. You know, you're there to criticize me. You're free to do that. But shoot, man. I don't think money should be a huge issue for Derrick Rose. It shouldn't be. With that type of contract, you're getting your $25 million a year, and you're not a league MVP anymore. So, but you're a nice role player at this stage, Derrick Rose. Hopefully, you can get something reasonable there, because we need to get somebody that can actually shoot the rock. You know, we need to get somebody that can shoot the rock. To me, that guy, at this moment, I keep mentioning the name because I like him an awful lot. And that guy's Avery Bradley with the LA Clippers. I can't believe he's only 27. I remember him with the 2012 Celtics. Man, he was that young. Vince Carter's a free agent. He's 41, though. So, yeah, let's get real, huh? I like Avery Bradley an awful lot. He's only 27. He's like a 40% three-point shooter, and he's a good defender, too. That's a guy I would be after in a big way. Interestingly, too, Jabari Parker's available. But he does have bird rights, and don't be surprised if the Bucks keep him. He is a restricted free agent. So, yeah, I don't know why I'm even bringing that up. He's a restricted free agent because his contract is the same as Andrew Wiggins. He did not get an extension yet, so he's now at the qualifying offer stage. I don't think the Wolves are going to go after Jabari Parker, but if they did, that'd be kind of cool. Wayne Rain Ellington last year made $6.1 million with the Miami Heat. Wouldn't mind bringing him in here for about $4 million if he's willing to take it. Would you have to give him 6 again? Don't be too surprised. Obviously, he can hit three-point shots, but that's it. He's not a defender. He's not a slasher necessarily, maybe a little bit, but he could certainly hit three-point shots. He's a limited player, limited role, but definitely can play the NBA game. I like Wayne Ellington, and I wouldn't be surprised if he came back. Avery Bradley, though, he's kind of right up there, one of my top choices. Contavious Caldwell Pope, I would like to have, but he made almost $18 million last year. Is he an $18 million player? No, no. He's non-bird, so he's available. You know, he can make as much elsewhere than he can with the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm sure Vince Germano would like to keep him, but he certainly hasn't panned out to what a lot of us thought he would be. DeMarcus Cousins, I wonder what's going to happen there. He's only 27 also. Tony Parker is an unrestricted free agent, but yeah, that's okay. Why am I even bringing that up? I don't know. Okay, we're not going to sign Tony Parker. Wouldn't that be crazy? JJ Redick, I don't know. The only way you're going to get him is making a trade, a significant trade of some sorts, like a Corky Jeng type of a move. He made $23 million last year with Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know, man. Chris Paul, same thing. He's with he is unrestricted. I gotta think right now for sure. And with his bird rights, he will remain with the Houston Rockets. Why would he leave? I mean, he was, a couple of freaking shots going in from going to the NBA Finals and probably winning the championship this year. So why he would leave Houston is beyond me. It sucks that he got hurt, man. Because I don't know how much longer he's gonna be at the prime of his game. He's been hanging on to his prime for an extended period, and good on him for being able to do that. I think, I don't know, man. I don't know. Obviously, he's not going to come here unless it's some kind of a Jeff Teague trade. I do keep bringing it up, though. I do think there's a possibility Jeff Teague does get traded if there is a splash. I think Jeff Teague is one of those pieces that gets traded. It's a reasonable contract. $19 million is a lot of money. Especially to us, it's insane. And to every other sport, practically except NFL quarterbacks, basically. That's insane money. NFL quarterbacks and NFL wide receivers at this stage. That's insane. Hockey, it's not even close. Nobody makes $19 million in hockey. Except maybe Connor McDavid. That's about it. I can't believe Caldwell Pope made $18 million last year. Just under 18. But
Jeff Teague and Gorgie Zhang possibly packaged, something like that, draft pick and all that for Kyrie Irving. I think that's a possibility this time. Because last year, when there was intrigue with Kyrie Irving, Jeff Teague had just been signed, and you could not trade him. And what do you do to get Kyrie Irving to join Jeff Teague? That'd be kind of weird and awkward and kind of pointless. That would kind of cancel things out. Okay, one guy could play shooting guard. Yeah, but that's a mess. That's a bleeping mess, especially when you already had Wiggins and Butler. What are you going to do here? So, where now it would make more sense if Kyrie Irving is ready to leave the Boston Celtics because LeBron's going there and they don't want to, and LeBron doesn't want him there. That's part of the quote-unquote deal. You want me, you got to get rid of Kyrie Irving. And plus, they have other pieces there that are legitimate players. So, they have a Kyrie Irving replacement. That's one of the reasons why the Boston Celtics got as far as they did without Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving on Minnesota, I would be very, very, very intrigued and very happy. I think that possibility exists, even though it's not necessarily, it's not anywhere near 50% happening. But I think that's the big splash, the huge splash the Wolves could make this summer if the stars do align, like they did last time. As a couple of years ago when LeBron James was a free agent after a very disappointing loss, and it looked like the direction of that current franchise in Miami was not going the right way. Dwayne Wade was getting old, Chris Bosh was old and getting sick, and LeBron was not going to waste any more time there, and he saw the opportunity to go back to Cleveland, where now it looks like Cleveland is just not serious. It's a mess. Even though they have nice players, it looks like a big mess. So could he go to the Boston Celtics and say Kyrie needs to go? Just like he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers and said, we need to get Kevin Love here. We have got to get this done. And that meant Andrew Wiggins. The stars aligned, and the Wolves were able to get the number one pick in the draft via Kevin Love by acquiring Andrew Wiggins there. Now, of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers had already took him, and the Wolves would have taken Andrew Wiggins. And him versus Jabari Parker, God bless Jabari, but it was the right pick, though he was a very disappointing player this year. Andrew Wiggins remains the better pick between those two guys, just like Carl, like a flat-out no-brainer versus a guy by the name of, I don't even remember anymore, Okafor, Jalil Okafor. Not a Mecca, but he might as well be a Mecca at this point. Jalil Okafor, colossal disappointment so far in comparison to Karl Anthony Towns. So that's the super big splash. Other than that, I'm not 100% sure what player-for-player trade might be out there. Though something is going to happen. There will be a significant trade, I believe, of some sorts. I do think Gorgie Zhang has played his last game for the Timberwolves. And I love Gorgie Zhang. Everybody that has listened to this podcast knows how I feel about Gorgie Zhang. But unfortunately, I do believe he is going elsewhere. So kind of is what it is there. So that's kind of where I stand at this point. Avery Bradley is a name I like a lot. Contavious, it's not going to happen. It's just not a fit. The minutes, the salary, it's not going to fit. And if it does, great. Avery Bradley, I hope so. $8 million, well, that could be your salary cap exception. So it would be $8 million again, if he's willing to do that. I would take Avery Bradley in a heartbeat with the Timberwolves. I would. For a lesser version of that with Wayne Ellington, sure. Something like that. And Jalil Okafor is a restricted free agent. Don't even go there. It's not going to happen. Jamal Crawford is a unrestricted free agent because he is opted out. So adios, bye-bye. Alex Len is an unrestricted free agent. Interesting. Nerlens Noel is an unrestricted free agent. So Nerlens Noel is an unrestricted free agent. He does have bird rights in Dallas, so they may be able to bring him back for a nice raise. We'll see what happens. I don't know if he's earned it because of the injuries. Will Barton is another one I would highly consider. I like Will Barton an awful lot. A defensive wing, small forward with the Denver Nuggets. That's another name I would be all over. Rajon Rondo. I like him a lot, but he can't stay bleeping healthy. He just can't. Tyreek Evans is one more name out there as well. That could be a little bit of a free agent splash, a little bit. He's been disappointing most of his career. An amazing rookie year, by the way. And after that, a big drop-off. Anthony Tolliver is a small possibility also for some more veteran leadership. But you already kind of have Taj Gibson, that type of thing. But Tolliver can really shoot. He can really shoot. He couldn't when he was here. Oh, no. It was like 1 or 2 threes a season. And, it was like goofy. But then all of a sudden he started making more, and he went to Detroit, and he made every three in the history of the planet. So that's out there. Michael Carter-Williams, not interested. Zach LaVine is a restricted free agent, but we don't have a huge amount of money that we could throw an offer sheet at. So I guess that's out of the question, unless there's some kind of crazy trade where Jimmy Butler says, you know what, I want to go back to the Bulls, and yeah, that's not going to happen. Plus, the salaries aren't even close, so I don't know how you'd even pull that off at this point. Whatever. Wade is going to stay in Miami. I could go on forever. I'm dragging this longer than I should. Jose Calderon's older than me. No, not yet. Nobody's older than me, basically, except for like Jason Terry. And screw that. I do not want Jason Terry. Luke Babbitt is a very, very inexpensive shooter off the bench. I wouldn't mind. That's a name as well. The Wolves did take him and ended up trading him for what's his bleeping name? I can't even remember anymore. What was his name? The guy who dunked instead of attempted a 3-point shot because the Wolves were down by 3. Marcel Webster. That's who it was. Michael Beasley's unrestricted as well. Yeah, okay. Next, please. Dante Cunningham. Wow, even he's out there. And the Wolves wanted him a year ago. I don't know. He's not that great. I'm drooling. It'll never happen. Restricted free agent, Clint Capella. I want Clint Capella. Ty Lawson, spark plug off the bench. Great catch and shoot. One of those early catch and shoot guys that I would have loved to have on this team. Even Glenn Robinson for $1 million. Glenn Robinson III, nice role player to fill up the roster and maybe even play some minutes here and there. Yeah. No, he probably wouldn't because Thibodeau wouldn't play him. With that said, I'm dragging this again. I apologize. Let's get to you guys. Fan interaction. It's your turn to talk to me, damn it. At least via text because nobody called in. And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion, segment number 3. That would be fan interactions. Now we're going to hear your MVP, biggest surprise, biggest disappointment, and all that, and a couple other comments here and there from all of you across the Great Divide and all that, because Timberwolves Explosion is worldwide, and you will be hearing some New Zealand, you'll be hearing some Australia. That's right. So good to have you guys on board, as always. Tanae, Levi, and of course, Vince Germano. Tanae, Levi, and Vince Germano all retweeted the most recent show, episode number 231, A Team Divided. Want to thank you guys very much. At Wolves Explosion, because Timberwolves Explosion doesn't fit. Just because you can have more characters on Twitter now. Well, the name is still Wolves Explosion on that on the Twitter account. So please give that a follow if you could. And thanks again, guys, for the retweets. That is just outstanding. Levi Brown out of New Zealand says, we got 8 from 8. That is, of course, our predictions into the postseason. So we got everybody correct going into the second round, including Houston, which, yeah, I mentioned in segment 1.5. Probably should have won the championship, and I think they should have. And I don't know. You get the point. I've kind of mentioned that ad nauseum, and I'm going to keep mentioning it. Houston should have won, damn it. I'm not going to apologize for saying that. Houston should have won the championship. Okay, yeah, okay. Ha ha, hilarious, right? I know I'm so funny. Yeah, well, I want to give a quick shout out to the Courtside Podcast. Of course, again, Vince Germano. Big shout out to him. We'll get to his thoughts on the biggest or MVP, biggest disappointment, biggest surprise, all that. Again, we're going to keep moving forward. Levi Brown says there's still plenty of time, but I'm not feeling great about the coming season. This is on Bleacher Report. Karl Anthony Towns' Wolves not in a good place internally, could come up in trade discussions, and that's when all this kind of got going with Zach Lowe, Windhorst, and such. So lots of interesting conversation. There was also talk, and we'll get to this in the Facebook page as well, generated some conversation. Thibodeau and Layden supposedly getting in an altercation. Supposedly, it's all rumors, this and that, and Darren Doogie Wolfson said it's pure unadulterated BS. So I don't know. Darren Doogie Wolfson usually in on the know on a lot of stuff. Tom Thibodeau, though, I don't know. It's bunker mentality. I mean, yeah, I don't want to name names or anything, but all this bunker mentality is kind of weird, and it kind of reminds you of other people. But we'll leave that alone. Tanae Brown says there's no chance Towns get traded. I agree. I don't think they're going to trade Towns. They would fire Tom Thibodeau before they trade Towns. That's just how it goes. I mean, the Lakers fired Pat Riley, the legendary Pat Riley, before they traded Magic Johnson, because Magic Johnson was tired of Pat Riley at the time. Luckily, they've patched things up in the in between years because, well, Pat Riley came on the Magic Hour and offered Magic Johnson a job with the Miami Heat right there on air. So the Magic Hour. Remember that show back in '98? Yeah. Did I say 98? Did I say 98 until like 2005, 2004? No, 98. That just shows how long that show sucked and how long it lasted. It was actually a good show until later on when it got stupid, but it just got stupid. Yeah, let's just keep moving. What was I saying? I was saying it seems like both the Cavaliers and Celtics are trying to lose this game, taking all these dumbass shots. That was at the beginning of the Eastern Conference Finals. Levi liked that one. I was cheering for the Rockets. I couldn't bear to see the Warriors, blah, blah, blah. Levi Brown was saying, good start. Hopefully they don't collapse again, that being Houston. Yeah, that was actually Cleveland. Pardon me, yeah. Oh, that... Ugh. Yes. Levi Brown says, both teams taking some ridiculous threes early in the clock. The Cupcake Phenom, that is... Yes, Gerald Green. Okay, this was in the conference finals. I was saying, Gerald Green, you suck. That was not good. Yep, terrible shot percentage, shooting, terrible shot selection, all that good stuff. Ali Sidikai saying the Cupcake Phenom. Yep, because remember he was blowing out a candle on a cupcake and up by the rim there because it was just so amazing. He's just, yeah. Well, that was when he was with the Wolves for a short time, and Mr. Randy Whitman wouldn't play him. Levi Brown says 27 missed threes in a row from the Rockets, and 27 missed threes in a row by the Rockets, and that was actually Game 7, wasn't it? When things just didn't work out. I couldn't handle it. 27 in a row. Why can't you alter strategy a little bit? But they didn't because they just didn't. Because they just I don't know. They're just morons. I mean. Okay, you get the point. Let's keep going. That just sucked. See, what all do I have here? Mentions. I think that's it. Yep, that is it. Levi Brown was a little annoyed, just like I was with the Rockets. I couldn't believe it. Just, why? But that's how it went. To the Facebook page, facebook.com/Timberwolves Explosion. So this time you can actually say Timberwolves Explosion, and there's the damn bells and whistles that I didn't want to hear. Sorry. So now we're going to give a shout out to Flip's Army, facebook.com/Flip's Army, or just look up Flip's Army on the Facebook in general, in the Facebook search bar. Good in-game conversation, off-season, regular season, whatever the heck it is. Good Timberwolves conversation. Just ignore the Warriors conversation as best possible. Don't tell me how great the Warriors are. I'm just going to ignore you. And because I've learned not to respond, because when I do respond, it's not good. So we'll just leave that alone and keep going. Otherwise, Flip's Army is a wonderful, awesome Facebook page. Trevor Wickerin, the creator of that page. Other great people on there as well, including the Jeff Johnsons, Stephanie Carlson, other people on there that are pretty cool to talk to. I apologize to some that I'm not mentioning at the moment, but awesome Facebook page. Do encourage you to join it. I also want you to join the Timberwolves Explosion Facebook page. Again, facebook.com/Timberwolves Explosion. So, first and foremost, this actually was not on the Facebook page. It was sent via Facebook Messenger. So, I'm not exactly sure why Vince sent it this way. Oh, here we go. He says, I sent it to you here because I don't want people to know before the show is released. Okay, so interesting thought there. Spoken like a true show host, the Courtside Podcast. Wayne Hunt, Vince Vinrock Germano, and Stu Benson, the second richest man in Sydney. Sydney's second richest man. I don't know why they call him second richest. Why isn't he the richest? So, I don't know. What's up with that? Why are you cutting the guy down? Shouldn't he be the richest? I mean, why second? Like, nobody wants to be second, right? Would you rather be Glomgold or Scrooge McDuck? Huh? The richest duck in the world, eh? No, sorry. Aye, laddie. So, MVP Karl Towns, or wouldn't you want to say Karl Anthony Towns, though? That's come on, Vince. No, I'm kidding. It was close between Butler and Karl, but in my mind, I think the Wolves still make the playoffs without Butler because Wiggins would have played better and had a much better season than what he did. Well, yeah, I mean, but that annoys me with Wiggins. And you know what? I understand there's always going to be some kind of mental block. It does happen sometimes, but it shouldn't happen, The problem is the old thing I used to say all the time in the David Kahn era and even before David Kahn into the McHale era, there's too many players that play the same position. Yeah, it was one of those too.
they're kind of similar, but then again, I guess they're not because Butler actually plays defense. They're similar in terms of they take idiotic shots at times, just like. But Butler usually doesn't get caught looking like a fool defensively, where like almost everybody else on the team does. Yeah, just about it. Maybe Taj Gibson and Butler. That's about it. Old Rose Garden himself. I mean, I don't know about his defense, and I don't know why I'm saying Rose Garden, but that might as well be what he is. Old Rosebush himself. I don't know about any defense there. Not really. There are times he looked kind of silly too, but what do you expect with a surgically repaired knee? I mean. And a knee that took 2 years to recover from, which, again, I have no idea why it took that long. I don't know. I didn't see any dislocation like Teddy Bridgewater, but I keep bringing that up. Let's move. Biggest disappointment. This is a tough one, but I guess Jamal Crawford's season, not going to lie. I did have some concerns. You may have signed him 2 years too late, but in saying that, he was really disappointing. I agree, Vince. He continues, like you say, more of a gunner than spot up 3. Yes, he is more of a gunner than a spot up 3. But as far as giving you guys some serious scoring punch, I feel like those types of games were too few and too far between. They were. It was kind of all over the place. You can blame Thibodeau a little bit too with the inconsistent minutes. Very sporadic. Again, you're looking for a meteor shower with thousands of meteors coming down, and then you see like 1 or 2 an hour, and it's like, oh, well, okay. Kind of like the Wolves season in general. You're super excited. Well, they win some games, like as in you see meteors and everything, but there was a whole lot of fun about it. Like you won some games, but you came out of it saying, oh, man, I don't like, I don't know. Why did this game bug me so much? It just did. I don't even know why, but it just did. And then you come back to it and it's everything. Like Tom Thibodeau is freaking out and I don't know. Well, you already do know. Tom Thibodeau's freaking out. Bad defense, this and that. And I don't know, just not really a happy group of players, which starts with the coach. A fish rots from the head down, this and that. And that's just kind of how it goes. Like if you have a bad supervisor at work, a fish rots from the head down. Nobody's happy. Nobody's happy. Like you walk in, you just can feel it like a cloud touching you. Throwing some shade, which I'm doing with my hand right now. Throwing shade on the place, which is what the wrong people do. I think Tom Thibodeau gets the Throw Some Shade Award. That's what I'm going to throw in. A new one. He threw some shade on the season. Like years ago, Rick Edelman threw shade on the, 13-14 Timberwolves. He threw shade on that season. He did. Just like Hank McCoy, Wayno, actually is his real name, said, or Wayne, but he likes to go by Wayno. He said, it was like, here we go, you're really excited for the season, and then Rick Edelman. Yes, Rick Edelman threw shade on the season. Tom Thibodeau threw shade on this season. So next time you hire a coach, Glenn Taylor, or whoever it is, I think it's time to get some young blood in here. Stop hiring these older guys who are stubborn and all that good stuff. Everybody listening to this podcast knows how much I love history, and I prefer older this, older that. I just do, no matter what it is. Older music, older video games, older basketball, older players, older. But when it comes to a coach, I'm starting to realize I prefer younger. Because, well, 2 words, Brad Stevens. He lost to Cleveland, but that kind of, LeBron James was LeBron James, and they had an awesome series. And, of course, the Celtics were missing, I think, 2 pretty important players. I think they're kind of important. Let's see, Gordon Hayward was missing the whole damn season, yet they still did what they did. They still finished second in the East. And what's the other one? Oh, that's right, Kyrie Irving. That's right, yeah, kind of important player. So, yeah, I think Boston was missing a couple guys. Brad Stevens, that's a name that deserves an unbelievable amount of credit. Dave Yeager, blah, blah, blah. You could go on forever. There are more young coaches out there that deserve a shake. Flip Saunders was a young coach that deserved a shake when he was in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, back in the 80s. In the late 80s, early 90s, when he wore the wacky outfits. And it was kind of cool, and he did a hell of a job there and all that good stuff. And he was the head coach of Golden Valley Lutheran. It was a small college that was like undefeated or something like that in like the late 70s, way back in the day, right after his Gophers career. And he was an assistant with the team, I think, for a short stint there. Yes, Flip Saunders was fresh, new, and exciting once upon a time, and he was awesome.
Tom Thibodeau, I don't know if he ever really was fresh, new, and exciting. I think he was a gritty assistant coach that likes to beat people down a little bit, which is okay when you're an assistant coach. When you're a head coach, nah. Rick Edelman was a great coach with the Portland Trail Blazers in the late 80s, early 90s. And he had some success with Sacramento. But, yeah, well, it didn't work out so great. So let's go in the other direction with the coach, in my humble opinion. I'm just sick and tired of it. I'm sorry. See, look at me dragging this down. But then again, that's why it's going to be an extremely long show, 2 hours plus, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's State of the Timberwolves. If you don't like it, too bad. Just, I'm sure you like it, though. Of course you do. You've waited, 5-6 weeks for the show. So it better be long, right? We got some catching up to do, and it's State of the Timberwolves. And if you only have a half hour to listen, well, stop it at that point and come back to it, which is what most people do. So I'm not sure anybody's that bored and ticked off at me at this point at the length, because the show isn't 2 hours long like every single show back in the day with Marcus, the forecaster, who I love, but the two of us just babble forever like I'm doing right now. Biggest surprise, I'm not going to say D-Rose because he played well for the Cavs, so I wasn't surprised. I'm going to give the award to, that's right, Nemanja Bjelica. Thank you, Vince. I agree. Really looked more comfortable at times this season and gave you guys some valuable outside shooting. Dipped a little after his injury. Yes, he did. But overall, a truly surprising season for him. Looking for him to improve once again next season. And yes, sir. And like he said, he sent it here because he didn't want it to be released before the show. So it's now on the air. So there you go. You are in podcast heaven forever. Vince Germano. And if you happen to call Timberwolves Explosion podcast heaven, I think it's getting up there a little bit. I think it's getting closer. Well, it's a 10-year-old show, so it must be somewhat decent if it lasted this long, or maybe I'm just too stubborn to go away. Whichever you want to believe is fine. So let's continue catching up. Any comments on the post? No comment on the actual post of the show, episode 231. As for the sportstuff.com, I'm not sure what's going on. Dylan Richardson may have shut it down, but of course the show will still be uploaded in podcast form, and I may have to join a new website at some point. Perhaps hint to the Courtside Network and all that, but we'll see there. Look at me just showing my hand a little too early there. I've only got a pair of twos, okay? So you're probably going to beat me, whoever you are. No, I'm kidding. I was saying it's time for the annual State of the Timberwolves, blah, blah, blah. And Levi Brown says, tough choice. This is, of course, MVP. Tough choice between Towns and Butler. Probably go with Butler, as we did generally struggle in the games he missed. But I doubt we would have made the playoffs this year if we didn't trade for him. He was a bit disappointing in the playoffs, though, and that's a given, yes. Number 2 is, I believe, the disappointment. Yes, he says, another tough choice, especially as we did make the playoffs this year, probably Tom Thibodeau. As you mentioned, the team just seems miserable, and I put a lot of that on the coach, and I do too. Biggest surprise would probably be D-Rose. D-Rose's play at the end of the season / playoffs, and he was good. He was as bad as I expected in his first few games with us, but he turned it on later, especially in the playoffs. I thought it was an awful signing when it was first announced, but if he can play like he did at the end of the season, he'll be a nice addition. And I agree. Kind of a spark plug off the bench. He can be a slasher and stuff. All that kind of like. And I'm sorry I didn't click like. I'm really sorry. This was, of course, Levi Brown. Tanae does jump in. And, yep, so it's Tanae and Levi. Vince already gave his. Nothing from Wayno or Stu. That's a bummer. Oh, well, that's okay. Damn it, Wayno. I probably scared him away. Plus, he was actually kind of sick. I don't know if he wants me to say, but he wasn't feeling really good. Boy, sometimes when those guys over there get sick, they get sick for size, man. Whew. So I feel for you. Wayno, hopefully you're feeling a little better now. Wayne Hunt of the Courtside Podcast, the alpha dog over there. Tanae Brown, also out of New Zealand. MVP has to be Butler. The games he missed proved how important he is to the team at the moment. Towns definitely has all the talent in the world. Parentheses, same with Wiggins. But the experience, determination, and energy Butler brings to every game was a major X factor in the Wolves' success this year. I mean, he looked like a team that could barely play to 500 without Butler. And with him, we took a game from the 1 seed in the West. Yeah, we did. Hopefully, a more healthy season from him yields better results next year. Real quick before I jump into the disappointment, that's the one problem with Butler. I don't think he's capable of playing 82 games. A couple years ago, though, he only missed 5. So if he could get to the 77, 75 range, sure. If we're talking 60s, oh boy, that's a lot of games missed. That's too many. It doesn't help that it didn't help the Twins losing Joe Mauer for 25 games recently. I can't believe it was 25 games. It was that long. Wow. So yeah, he just came back and they sent Miguel Sano down to single A. You know, I mean, that's how frustrating Andrew Wiggins is right now. You wish you could send him down to single A, you know, if there was such a thing for basketball. Single A. But with that contract, I don't know. That'd be kind of weird. Yeah, that would be kind of weird. That's why you don't see Zach Parise, Ryan Suter sent down to Iowa in the AHL, just like Iowa for the NBA. Both Iowa Wolves and Iowa Wild. That's kind of funny. So Iowa, I love you. And I know the Iowegians out there love Purple Mafia. So, where the heck was I? Disappointment out of Tanae Brown is, I think I've said this every year I've been listening to the Wolves Explosion, but the bench once again, but for a different reason this season. Their lack of game time when certain players were generating momentum was frustrating at times. When Tyus was on a good run and got pulled. When Belly was doing great with the starters and then went back to 10 to 15 minutes a game from the bench. Marcus Georges Hunt's lack of time, they were all frustrating for me. Sorry. I know that's more of a coaching problem, but I thought I'd stick to my bench theme from years past, LOL. Nice. Biggest surprise. This is more personal for me than the actual season as a whole. But it was a major surprise that I finally made it to a Wolves game this season. I absolutely loved the whole atmosphere, the stadium, the fans, even though the people I sat with were still hung up on Rubio. Oh, God, that's annoying, isn't it? It was honestly a dream come true to get there. Hopefully I'll be back this coming season, and I'll try to get Levi Brown to come this time around, and I'll be sure to let you know sooner this time too, Joey Awajan. Cheers for another great season of entertainment, mate. Looking forward to the next show as always, and thank you, Tanae. You guys are just the best. And Tanae was starting out to Vince Germano, and Wayne Hunt is also to jump into the conversation. Vince Germano did on the Facebook Messenger, so I apologize you guys didn't get to see that, but you heard it at least. Wayne Hunt never showed up. I don't know if he's mad at me or what, but no, he was for a little while because I was bashing Curry and the Warriors. You know what it is? It's my competitive juices coming out. There's a lot of stuff about the Warriors that just drive me absolutely nuts. The histrionics. You just feel like they're looking to taunt the other team all the time, and I don't feel good about that when I watch that. Back in the day when I played whatever it was, you know, like after school, whatever the heck they call those intramural leagues. Guys like that, yeah, I just wanted to clock them in the face because it's too much, you know, and it's just a lot of that same stuff comes back, and I hated it. I hated it then. I hate it now. I never will like it. Pardon me. So that's just how I am. Sorry if you think I'm too old school or I'm too whiny, whatever, and I can't handle the fact that the Warriors are the greatest team ever, which they're not. So we'll continue from there. I was saying apparently Jamal Crawford is opting out, and I'm completely okay with that. Ended up being too much of a gunner and not really what this team needs right now. We need spot-up shooters. The response is Levi Brown says, who can we target in free agency? I haven't looked into who might be on the list other than the big names, and you heard some conversation in segment number 2. Right now, in a lot of ways, I lean Avery Bradley, among others. So, yes. And I apologize for my lack of kind of commenting back to a lot of you guys. I do apologize. I was saying an incredible statistic that's being bantered about is that the Timberwolves were the 12th best defensive team in the NBA with Jamal Crawford on the bench. Interesting. It just shows you how bad of a defender he was. No comment response there, and here it is. Interesting rumor that's been bantered about the last few days. Tom Thibodeau and Layden got into a heated argument last Thursday, and Thibodeau threw a computer monitor. So, it supposedly broke glass. That was what it was. That's what they said. But Darren Doogie Wolfson poo-pooed it and put the kibosh on it. But we'll see. Darren Doogie Wolfson, kind of local reporter. He's also on Channel 5, KSTP, all that. But, yeah. He said it's not real. It sounds real, but it's not real, that type of thing. Is it real? Well, whatever it is. Bottom line, somebody doesn't like Tom Thibodeau. In fact, a lot of people don't. So why would a story like that come out? if it's real or false. Somebody does not want him there, and I think it's more than one person. So, players, whatever it is. And I meant to say bantered, and of course, that's why Nicholas Simon was like, huh? I meant to say bantered, and that's my fault, and that's voice text, and I didn't even fix it. I said, this is a real rumor. It sounds funny, but it's real most likely. Nicholas Simon says, what does it mean, though? Been banned, heard around the league. I meant to say bantered. See, I didn't even get back to Nicholas there, and I really apologize. That was a long time ago. Scott Doherty says, yep. Also, Taylor expressed concern about Thibs angry on and off the court affecting the relationship. So I meant to say bantered, like bantered about the league. So I'm sorry, Nicholas Simon. I should have got back to you. You're probably wondering, what the hell is he talking about? Levi Brown says, Thibs is a lunatic. Scott Doherty says, threw it through a window. Dustin Schumacher says, Dwayne Casey is available. That would be awesome. Scott Doherty says, we had him before, but I'd take anyone over Thibs. Dustin Schumacher continues, says, either that or Ryan Saunders. Scott Doherty responds to him with, I don't think Ryan Saunders is ready yet. However, I would like to see him given more control on the offensive end. I wish you guys wrote your MVP biggest surprise and all that stuff. That would have been a nice addition to the show, but oh well. I was saying how the banana, Alfred Payton, and I mean banana because his hair, not because of anything else, so please do not twist logic, do not twist my words and put me into some kind of place I don't want to be. His hair had a banana, looked like the top of a banana. You know, that tip of the banana, the top, yeah. Okay, that's what Alfred Payton looked like. That's why I called him the banana. And he finally cut it. So he doesn't have to look so goofy. Nicholas Simon says, dude used to hit his hair with the ball and his hand when shooting free throws, as if he needed any help sucking at shooting. Probably be Reggie Miller by now without the hair. So, yep, there you go. Nice. And there it was. The Wolves would dump Thibodeau before trading Karl Anthony Towns. This from the Star Tribune from the Woj Bomb. Comments are, Vince Germano says, spoke about this on the show last night. Stu Bomb is the new Woj Bomb. That's right, sir. Look at me not clicking like on anything. Levi Brown says you'd certainly hope so, and I agree. And that was an awesome show, by the way. I posted about Kobe Bryant showing the old days when guys were beating the crap out of each other and hard fouls, which I'd like to see on multiple Warriors players. Draymond Green first, Steph Curry second. You know, maybe some of that shimmying would settle down a little bit. Maybe some of that would settle down a little bit if guys got the crap beat out of them a tiny bit. I'm not saying turn the whole game into that, but it wasn't the whole game back then. It just got to a point of, okay, I'm sick and tired of this crap. Just stop it. I'm not saying take the guy's head off. I'm saying foul him hard. Don't injure him. Don't break his neck. Don't give him a concussion. But give him a little bruise, baby, once. Just one bruise, okay? One little bruise, one little hard foul, and give him what for, saying, yeah, it ends now, basically. Enough of this crap. Just play the bleeping game, you little punk. And that's pretty much my point of view, and you don't have to agree with it, but I gave it. So, that's it. That's the end of the Facebook page. Comments, the Twitter account, that's the end of fan interaction, and that's the end of the show. A big, gigantic son of a gun of a show. Some ranting, some raving. A lot of frustration. That might be why I seem a little disoriented. Plus, I might be a little rusty because I hadn't been behind the mic talking about this team for a long time. I also had a ton of things to say. Hopefully, the audio isn't too weird and too echoey because I want to get it. I do want to get it right, and it's maybe not exactly the way I want it right out of the gate here in Golden Valley right now. This is this one along with State of the Wild are the first two shows I've recorded since returning to Golden Valley. State of the Wild was just recorded last weekend. So hopefully the audio's okay and it's coming around, this and that, and I'll try to get better at it if it's not so good. Anybody that wants to offer an opinion on it, you're free to message me on Facebook or post on the Facebook page, whatever it is, Timberwolves Explosion Facebook page or Twitter, whatever. Most of you know how to reach me that way. So, and of course, all the information will be posted in the show description. Speaking of the phone lines, 209-736-7877, 209-736-7877. It is a voicemail. Do treat it as such. Mention you're calling in for Timberwolves Explosion. Do your statement, shout-out, comment, question, and opine. That's a 3-minute limit on the voicemail. Same thing if you use the Facebook Messenger, the Call Now button on the Facebook page. You click on that. It goes straight to the same phone line, and it's the same situation with a 3-minute. It'll cut you off. Otherwise, there's the audio submission route, which I highly recommend, which might end up being a permanent way of doing things. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with Dylan and the sportstuff.com of late, but I still am capable of running the feed, though, putting it on iTunes and Stitcher, so I'm not worried about that at the moment. That's easy to maintain and not expensive. But the simple route with that is simply record on your smart device with the free voice recording application. They're always on there. They're built in, or you can download one, whatever it is. Treat it like a phone call. Keep it from 3 to 5 minutes, something like that, maybe longer if you really have a lot to say. Then save it and email it to paladinolive@yahoo.com, paladinolive@yahoo.com, and then your voice will be on with mine. I will convert it into an MP3 file via Zamzar or converto.com. Really appreciate those websites for providing that service, being able to convert a audio file into an MP3 so I can put it on Audacity and get you on here in segment number 3. Segment number 3, which is your segment. This isn't my segment, it's your segment. I did enough rambling and babbling, and it's your turn to get your thoughts in, and that's what segment 3 is all about. Fill it up, guys. Fill up segment 3. And thank you to those of you that have done so the past many, many years, and even just a few years in some of your cases that I met you not too long ago. Thanks again today, Vince Germano, Levi Brown, very, very active on this show. Wayne Hunt, come back, buddy. Love when you add comments and questions on the Facebook page, and you're always welcome to send an audio submission. Vince Germano did his first on the most recent show, I believe, or was it 2 shows ago? It was awesome. So 2 shows ago, I believe. It was awesome. The whole Butler effect and everything. And you know what? He's right. So that's kind of why I wouldn't feel too bad if both Thibodeau and Butler kind of were shown the door one way or another. As in Butler just leaves on his own, and Tom Thibodeau is shown the door. The sucky part is Zach LaVine he's gone. So thanks, Tom Thibodeau. Thank you very much. And Chris Dunn, if you liked him, which I kind of did. Not sure how great he's going to be, but he's shown signs of being pretty good. He was a Tom Thibodeau draft pick, though, so don't forget that. All of you crying and moaning about Ricky Rubio, I get it. He's emerged nicely, and he was emerging nicely with the Wolves. It took for bleeping ever, though. And don't get mad at me for saying that. It took for bleeping ever, because he had some not-so-good years. And he continued to have not-so-good years. It wasn't like he just had one rookie year that was, like his rookie year was meh, and then bam, second year, here we go. John Stockton, who? Magic what? It wasn't quite at that level, and it's still not. He's developed a bit of a three-point shot, but then the next game, it's not that good. So, again, your point is, seriously, he's not Klay Thompson with the catch and shoot. Not quite there yet, but some games he has a little Klay Thompson, I guess, but not really, just once in a while. Certainly not at the consistency level of a Klay Thompson. But again, I encourage the catch and shoot 3 because it's about as high percentage of a shot this day and age. So, yes, I encourage it. And if Rubio keeps doing it, good for him. So, there it is. And hopefully that can continue with Jeff Teague. Catch and shoot 3s for Jeff Teague, it's there. Why Andrew Wiggins doesn't have that as a big part of his game rather than just kind of putting the ball on the floor and just, I don't know, like goofing around at the playground type fadeaway shots that sometimes me and Marcus the forecaster are guilty of. Stupid idiot fadeaways from God knows where that don't go in at all. That's on me and Marcus there, but it's also on Andrew Wiggins. Me and Marcus aren't getting paid to do it. Andrew Wiggins is. And he's not just getting paid $1 or $2 million a year. He's not getting paid $10 million a year. He's getting paid a hell of a lot more than that. So, yeah, a hell of a lot more than that. And you can do the math there. More than you got, right? So, that's all there is to say there. Just want to thank you guys for being a part of the show. Again, can't thank you enough. You're the best. God bless you. Tell your friends about the show. Spread the word. Keep retweeting. And thank you again. Please post a positive rating on iTunes if you could. Write a positive review on iTunes or Stitcher. It's so greatly appreciated. And those of you that do, God bless you. And thank you again to tell your friends about the show. And, of course, the positive ratings only encourage people that are looking around for a Timberwolves podcast, and there are other ones out there. But I would prefer you come to mine, and they come to mine. So with more positive ratings, they're more likely to do that. And thanks again in advance for doing that. I will read your review on air and give you a gigantic thank you. And God bless you in advance for that. Until next time, when we talk about the draft, after the draft, and after free agency, and hopefully more positive direction rather than negative into the summer, Until next time, take care. God bless. Stay warm. Stay cool, regardless of where you're from. And if you're from Minnesota or the United States, Western Hemisphere, stay cool. If you're from the Eastern Hemisphere, stay warm, because obviously it's a little bit cooler there in Australia at the moment than it is during the basketball season, because, seasons are quite opposite there compared to here. We'll talk to you next time.